Speaking out of Akron, Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Stephen Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Welcome, everyone, to the Spotlight here on Fightful. I am Jeremy Lambert. That is Stephen Jensen. And shout out, as always, to Big Dick MLJ for the intro. It is Thursday, December 14th. We got a lot to talk about in the world of wrestling. As always, Jensen, how you doing this morning, buddy?
Doing good, everyone. Welcome to the show this morning. I got to dip out a little early today, about 10 minutes before I normally do. Everyone wish me luck. People have asked about my shoot job and the interview and the promotion I'm up for. I actually have the second interview today for that, and it's at 10 a.m. Eastern. So it's like right when I normally get off of here, and I'm usually a couple minutes late getting out of here and getting into work. This week I have to make sure I'm very early. I'm going to actually throw on a collared shirt and a tie for this interview just to be super sure that they understand how serious I am about this job. So wish me luck, everyone. The next interview is in a couple hours, and I don't know if there's another interview or not, but I know that it's been narrowed down to very few people. So I've got a shot, and I know there's this position and another one opening soon, so I should be a candidate for both. So things should be looking pretty good, hopefully, and I appreciate all the support. Outside of that, Jeremy, we got a big show today. We got a lot to talk about.
We do. We wish you luck on your second interview. We hope it goes well for you. Continue to keep us updated. I know a lot of people in the chat 2 weeks ago when you originally announced it were wishing you luck. And then last week, a lot of people wanted an update on things. So there's your update for everybody. Hopefully Jensen will get to finish his story and get this.
Yeah, hopefully. Now, I don't know. It's hard to see on the screen, but I did finish a different story last night. Unrelated, excuse me, but people will be interested about this. Dave & Buster's, shout out to Dave & Buster's. They do a thing every Monday where if you can pick the NFL games, like the Monday night NFL games, it'll let you pick the winner and the loser. And if you get it right, they'll give you 50 free credits to play with. If you get it wrong, they'll give you 25. And on Wednesdays, it's half off. So whether I win or lose on the picks, either I get 25 free credits or 50 free credits. My brother does it also. You go up there on Wednesdays, play for free. And on free credits, I am a proud owner of this Dave & Buster's hoodie. So that is product of free credits right here. Free hoodie at Dave & Buster's. I finished that story last night. So
yeah, Dave & Buster's, damn it.
The Dave & Buster's lore is strong on this show. So shout out Dave & Buster's.
Congratulations on your free Dave & Buster's hoodie for picking NFL games, Jensen.
Yes. Let's talk about wrestling.
Let's talk about some wrestling. Let's start with sort of the big news of the week.
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
Monday Night Raw this past Monday. I was there, Jensen.
Yeah.
I was there at Monday Night Raw in Cleveland. CM Punk was there in Cleveland nearly a decade after he walked out following the Royal Rumble, which was supposed to be the Raw after Rumble was in Cleveland. And CM Punk said, no, thank you. I mean, respectable. Who wants to go to Cleveland? He showed up for this particular episode of Monday Night Raw, and he not only showed up, he made his decision of where he was going to sign. He was billed as a free agent. Was he going to sign with Raw, SmackDown, NXT? He chose to sign with Monday Night Raw. He said CM Punk is Raw's newest superstar, and CM Punk is home. This brought out Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, said, you spent a decade slandering me, slandering the people in the back, slandering this whole company, trying to tear it down. This is not your home. You are only here because you don't have any other chances. Two things are going to happen. You're going to screw up like everyone expects you to screw up, and I'll be there to say bye as you leave out the door, or you're going to be here and I'm going to wrestle circles around you, and I'm going to prove that I'm better than you. And then Punk said, we'll see. I'm entering the Rumble. Maybe I'll go after you. What did you make of this whole segment, Jensen?
This was great. Seth Rollins, man. There's a lot of stuff about Seth Rollins that I really underappreciated until recently. When
Power
Cody
of CM Punk.
Yeah, when Cody came back to the WWE, I was kind of salty about the guy. I was like, I don't know if I like everything this guy's really saying. He's maybe a little too much of the company WWE guy. Sometimes he tweets and stuff. I don't know. I'm a big fan of the indies. I'm a big fan of other companies. But I don't know what it's for some reason recently. It feels like everything Seth Rollins is saying is straight fire, facts. I'm becoming a really big Rollins fan lately. And the talent is really, really showing through. I liked the segment a lot because, I've pretty much said everything Seth Rollins said right here. He said in the ring, which is really cool. CM Punk, it's interesting to see him in this position because, and I like it because it's kind of along the lines of what Lashley was saying in a recent interview where he was he didn't say anything bad about CM Punk. He was just saying hey, how about this guy kind of starts just because he's back doesn't mean he should be given the championship, what they did in AEW pretty much. Let him kind of earn his way back a little bit here. I know he's a massive star, obviously, but how much does he love this? How much does he love this company? How much does he want to actually help us? Let's figure that out before we start, giving him all this stuff and then putting him in another position where things could go bad. That's all reckless speculation and stuff of what will and won't happen in the future and stuff. But I think that Rollins really spoke the mind of a lot of people that kind of feel how I feel about Punk, all of us recognize Punk can be good for short-term business. No, I'm not ignorant to think that people aren't interested in the WWE product because of this or that CM. I'm not even saying what CM Punk's doing on the show is bad. I thought the first promo back, the first the I'm home speech was kind of lame and corny because Cody cut the same promo and CM Punk's supposed to be the anti-authority guy and he cut a very authority promo. But the next one was good, the one he did on SmackDown. Even though once again it was hilarious because the jokes weren't landing, the punchlines weren't landing. The WWE audience, most of the stuff he was saying was going right over their head.
It was the wrong audience. Not
Tribute
necessarily
to the
just tribute to the troops. Providence, Rhode Island. Not even the tribute to the troops is one thing, but he does that promo in Chicago. He gets the oohs and ahs and everything.
Yes, that's 100% true. So the location of that definitely was a factor for sure. But to be fair, this is another conversation, and this isn't a roast on the WWE audience. It's just the truth. Most of their audience, I think, isn't really paying attention to what's going on outside the WWE, and most of them are younger. They don't care. It's the WWE, that's wrestling. They love the WWE, and a lot of the times when you're fighting with people online too, people who watch this, you're probably fighting with a kid or something. These nameless, faceless people online that get really, really upset about wrestling. Because that's how I acted when I was a kid. I was super defensive about WCW and my favorite wrestlers and stuff. But I also didn't have the forum of going on the internet and people seeing my thoughts. At most you had AIM, AOL chat rooms. If you do for people, they would have wrestling chat rooms, and you'd hope to God they were actually talking about wrestling and those things. You know what I mean? So it was one of those things where I think Seth Rollins was speaking facts. And you can see him.
But real quickly, Jensen, I do love that when Cody comes back, Seth Rollins, was, I don't like what he's saying about Cody. This doesn't seem correct. But when he's speaking to Punk, it's these are all facts. Facts by Seth Rollins.
Well, the thing is, the key thing here that keeps me from being a complete hypocrite, because I obviously understand people who hate me. You can make that exact comparison. I made it myself just a moment ago. The difference is Cody has options. You know what I mean? Seth being honest about like Punk, you like, okay, listen, if you want to call TNA and NWA an option and stuff like that, like sure, like he has options. Technically speaking, there are companies who would want to bring in CM Punk, but there's no way that stuff was going to ever happen. I mean, they'd have to, the amount of money they would have to give him, and with the promise of also exposure as far as like being on a network or something that has enough eyes that it would even be worth paying someone that much money to bring them in. It just wasn't going to happen. So Cody, Cody didn't get fired from the last place he worked. Like Cody could have stayed in AEW. Cody could have went and wrestled anywhere else. Cody could have went into politics. Cody could have tried MMA if he wanted to. I don't care. Huh? Well, I mean, I honestly think he will eventually. I honestly think Cody will eventually go into politics when he's too old to wrestle full time. Like when his body can't handle it anymore. But just one of those things where like Cody has options. Punk doesn't. Like Punk's not going back to AEW. Punk isn't allowed to fight in the UFC anymore. Like
I think he could fight in the UFC again if he.
They're not gonna. Well, nowadays there's a chance because they've entertained the idea of like Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and those kind of guys fighting. So like it's possible. I'm not saying
Dana White's his words is just about as good as any wrestling promoters. So
yeah, when it's all WME or Endeavor now or whatever. So like it's all under one umbrella to where like Ari Emanuel, like he might not care at all what Punk's skill level is at. He's like, okay, if Punk's interested in fighting again, we're going to make a lot of money. Throw him in there. Give him $500,000 and have him, fight some guy who's never fought before again. The problem with Punk in the UFC is that there's no opponents for him. Like you have to find people outside of the company who they can even sanction him against. But I know something that's happening.
They could do CM Punk against Jake Paul and make a ton of money.
Jake Paul would kill him.
I mean, I agree, but I'm just
they wouldn't sanction that.
They sanction any of these stupid fights. They sanctioned the dumbest fights ever. They sanctioned Randy Couture against James Toney. That wasn't a fair fight.
I knew you were going to say that. I had it in the chamber. I was like, he's going to bring up the James Toney fight. Listen, okay. We can split hairs about this all day. They probably would. A commission would sanction it. They'd be able to find a place to do it.
Yes.
They would find a place to do it. That said, Jake Paul's also an actual fighting weight. Jake Paul is much larger than CM Punk is. CM Punk right now, when he's not, well, that's something people don't realize. When CM Punk's fighting, he weighs 170 pounds. CM Punk right now probably weighs, 220, 230? You know what I mean? Like, he's a completely different human being we're talking about because of whatever. So anyways, I think that CM Punk's out of options, just like Seth Rollins said. So that's where we're at. And the thing that's interesting to me is like Punk's responses, because he's always the guy who always has to have that snide last second. Like he's got to have the last word kind of guy. And in this kind of segment, he kind of wasn't able to do that, which I like, because you got to make him humble at least a little bit in this situation. Like, you can't have him coming in and just ripping the company again, unless he's a heel. Unless you're going to go heel with this, which would be way more interesting. And he just starts slamming the company again. He starts slamming Triple H. He starts slamming the reasons why he left to begin with. And he's a heel. That's a completely different dynamic. But what I saw on Monday was really more like, and listen, either CM Punk's the best actor in the world, or it's like clear, because he's one of the few guys who you can see his emotions really clearly in his eyes and in his face. And when people, what do you see? Right. So, but if y'all watch, like when people say stuff that CM Punk he doesn't like, you can see it in the Hangman Page face to face that he references that they cause so much problems. You can see it in the Seth Rollins thing, which was obviously scripted to a degree. They might not have scripted this thing word for word, but I'm sure they had a good idea of what they were going to go out there and talk about. Punk's eyes, like they turn red. He gets this look in his face, and he gets this look like, "Don't say that to me, mother effer. Don't you know not to mess with me. You know not to mess with me." But Rollins is the kind of guy who's just like, "Mess with me, dude. Like, what are you gonna do about it?" And that's what I think most of the WWE locker room feels is like, "Dude, try me. Like, I'm gonna say whatever I want to about you. We're gonna make a lot of money, but I'm not gonna let you just get away with coming back after." There's a big difference between leaving the WWE and like going and bettering yourself and like going and making a bigger name for yourself and reinventing yourself and all this stuff, and then coming back a bigger star on better terms with the company, versus this dude talked trash about this company and their performers for like the better part of a decade. And now he's tail between his legs cutting I'm home promos. You know, like I think Seth Rollins nailed it on Monday. And I think he spoke for a lot of people in that promo. Now, that said, I'm not sitting here just roasting and hating on CM Punk. Like, it takes two to do this. I think Punk was the loser in this scenario, but what I like about it is we are clearly going to get CM Punk for Seth Rollins, and CM Punk isn't going to just sit back and just take this. Like, he will be firing back, and I'm interested to see what he has to say in the build-up to the eventual match with Rollins. So, like, I think this stuff's all going to be really good, but on Monday, I'm going to keep it real, even though I'm kind of biased. People think I'm a hater. I mean, that's 10-7 Rollins on Monday, right?
10-7?
That's 10-7, man. He comes out and spit facts. All Punk can do is sit there and take it. He didn't have anything he had nothing.
Well, I don't think it was designed for Punk to have nothing. I don't think it was 10-7, and I'll tell you why I don't think it was 10-7. It's
10-8?
Because I don't even know if I'd go 10-8.
Oh, come on. 10-9 Rollins at least.
Yeah, Rollins won. I do agree with that, but I don't know. Here's what I liked about CM Punk's portion of it. One, I don't think it was designed to fire back with this big grand, word for word, bar for bar type of thing. What Punk accomplished, which I didn't think was possible, but what he accomplished was he made me interested in him winning the Rumble and going after Rollins. Because I've said it a lot of times that whoever wins the Rumble should go after Roman. Because if you're going to win the Rumble, why are you not going after Roman? That's the guy who's held the title for 3 years. Like, that's the big money match, Roman Reigns. Like, I think if Cody wins, if Gunther wins, if whoever wins, they would be foolish not to go after Roman Reigns. If Punk wins, I still think he'd be foolish not to go after Roman. I still think that's the big money match. But he did enough. Rollins did enough. Rollins also sold this very well. But Punk is a great counterpart here of he sold it enough of like, if he goes after Rollins, I ain't super mad at it. I can understand that decision. So I like Punk's closing line of like, if I win the Rumble, I'm going to go after you. And now I will give Rollins a lot of credit that he is the person who sold all of that because his fire, his vitriol, his comments made me interested in Punk going after him compared to Roman, who has not addressed CM Punk and may not address CM Punk. He's going to be on SmackDown this week. He might just not say anything about Punk. He might just completely dismiss Punk of like, oh, one dude's back. Who cares? He's over on Raw. Don't really care about that. But I like that Punk's closing line was, I'm entering the Rumble. If I win, might go after you. And I thought that made a lot of sense. Now, Rollins definitely won this battle, but I don't give out 10-8 rounds easily. I'm very hard pressed to give out 10-8 rounds.
I'm pretty liberal with my 10-8s. I'll be honest about that. Like, I'm one of those people that really, this is an MMA conversation that people don't care about, but I know that you used to cover MMA and stuff, so you know exactly what we're talking about. Like, I'm really big on, I don't like how the close fights come down so often to the judges in like 1 point or so on those scorecards when there's so many fights where like fighter A really beats up fighter B in round 1 and it's a 10-9. And then round 2 might happen and fighter B might barely beat fighter A. I mean, like might just like hold them down a little bit longer. It's super close. Like round 1 wasn't nearly as close as round 2, but they're both getting 10-9 scores throughout the thing. Like, I think they really should utilize the 10-8s and 10-7s more often as like a real showing of like, this fighter clearly won this round more than they won this other round. So this fighter won. Like, cause some of these rounds are just so close and you're literally just guessing like, all right, 10 for that fighter, 9 for that fighter, but really it should have been 10-10 probably. And then this other round that should have been 10-8 was also 10-9. And that's a lot of the scoring issues, I think, in MMA come down to that 10-point must system that they still haven't fixed. And people get screwed out of wins all the time because of it. But anyways.
By the way, I do agree with you that in actual fights that they don't use 10-8 rounds enough. I fully agree with you. This is a promo battle on a WWE show.
We're analyzing this really. That's fair. That's fair. And this is also a show that's supposed to be fun, by the way, everybody. Like, I think people might actually think that I like enjoy coming on here and like there's certain guys like CM Punk and stuff. Like when we went on our LA Night arc and stuff for a while, like the thing I like enjoy, like I'd much rather talk about something like I love in wrestling than stuff that like bothers me. But The thing is, like, I do think that the CM Punk and Seth Rollins match, it makes a lot more sense, like you said, if Punk wins the Royal Rumble now, because you had convinced me when we recently talked about, okay, I was like, yeah, you're right. Punk shouldn't challenge for the title if he wins the Royal. Oh, he shouldn't challenge for Seth rather for the title if he wins the Royal Rumble. He should challenge Roman just for the same reasons you said. I was like, you're right about that. Like that would be, you'd look foolish for winning the Royal Rumble and then not challenging Roman and trying to be the guy to dethrone him. But based on what we saw last night, now things have changed. And now, do you think Punk wins the Rumble and goes after Rollins at Mania and main events night 1, and then Cody wins the Chamber, and that gets him Roman at night 2?
I think that scenario is way more on the table now than I thought it was before Monday, because I did think that whoever won the Rumble was just going to challenge Roman. But now, because of Punk's promo and Seth's promo, now it makes sense of like, oh yeah, Punk can win the Rumble and actually challenge Seth, and it makes sense to me. And then, okay, how do you get to Cody and Roman? Well, you do the Elimination Chamber to get to Cody and Roman. So it makes a lot more sense than it did a week ago when I thought like, yeah, whoever wins this Rumble has to go after Roman. And if anybody else wins the Rumble, it should still be Roman, by the way, because Punk is different. 1, because of this promo. 2, because he just hasn't been there long. It looks very weird if Cody wins the Rumble and is all of a sudden like, yeah, I'm interested in this title that I've shown no interest in for 8 months now when they introduced this title. Kind of the same thing with like a Gunther or literally anybody else. Priest, maybe, but he's got the contract anyway. He's got the money in the bank. So everybody else would make way more sense for Roman. Punk still makes sense with Roman. And look, if Roman actually like says something about Punk and goes after Punk, he's going to sell me right back on it of like, oh yeah, Roman and Punk is the match. I just kind of built in my head that Roman is going to, because Punk is on Raw, Roman's going to be dismissive of Punk and just be like, and maybe that is enough fuel for Punk to be like, you're dismissing me. Like I'm not worthy of challenging you. Like I am going to challenge you. But I thought Rollins just did a fantastic job of selling this whole thing. You know, good on him. It was a good promo. And, you know, he said a lot of things that I know a lot of fans believed. I was waiting. I know I put this as the caption on the banner. I was waiting after he did the like, you've been slandering this company. You've dissed all the people in the back. You dissed all these fans. I was waiting for him to hit you. Tell me when I'm telling lies on here. And like, that's a reference that, much like the Punk reference on SmackDown, that people did not go ooh and ah over on the crowd. I don't know how many in the crowd would have gotten that. Cleveland's a hotter wrestling town than Providence, Rhode Island. No offense to Providence, but Cleveland's the crowd on Monday was really hot all night, by the way. I hope that came across on TV because in the building, it was super hot. But I was waiting for him to drop that tell me when I'm telling lies, and he didn't. I was a little disappointed. I was like, come on, Seth. It was right there for you.
Yeah. And that's a line that it wouldn't matter because that in the right context, that line, like that wouldn't matter if like that didn't hit with the audience the same way. You know what I mean? Like if Seth would have said like, tell me when I'm telling lies, like even people who don't know what he's talking about would be like, oh, that's kind of a cool line. Like, yeah, like Seth's speaking facts, but then it would also hit for us, like you know what he's talking about. The problem with what Punk said the other day about like, you know, punching people backstage or whatever, like no one but the hardcores, you know what I mean? That was like people out of the loop for that would have no idea what he's talking about. You know what I mean? So it's like there's a difference there too.
Well, it was in reference to Kevin Owens just going backstage punching people. So it was still.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
So he was still talking about a WWE angle type of thing. It was just, let me drop this insider reference here. Look, I have the same thing as Rollins. Is like, yeah, he's not telling any lies when he's saying all this stuff. And it's also a wink and a nod.
Yeah, I forgot that he related it to Owens. That's a good call. That actually like that changes a lot of what I was saying about that for sure. Hellraiser with some good chats in there, kind of agreeing with Punk or with Rollins and like Punk, you know, kind of run the company through the mud. That's what Rollins was saying. He's like, you call me a bootlicker? Like, dude, like, what are you talking about? This is your home. He's like, we don't want you here, dude. Like, we don't want you. Like, no, like, but I mean, obviously it's interesting. And I've said it before, like, obviously Cody finishing the story at WrestleMania, that's the goal. That's what I want to see. There's nothing that is better than that for me. Like, that's what I want. But there is absolutely a part of me that's like, WWE's leaving money on the table if they don't give Punk a shot at Roman before Roman loses that title. Like, because there's the interest there of like, who's going to beat Roman? That's the big thing. It's been so long. Who's going to finally get that win? I think it'd be a massive travesty if Punk was the one to beat him, for like, not just because of Cody, but like, that would just be the wrong message, I think, to everybody that's been there this long, that's worked for this. Someone like a Gunther, for instance, even like just someone who's worked really damn hard that has been in that position, because Punk doesn't need it either. Like, Punk doesn't need to be the WWE champion or the World Heavyweight champion. He's already an attraction in himself. The title would be an interesting part of a story for him, similar to AEW. But I think his run in AEW is going to be totally different from what we're going to get in the WWE. Like, and I loved his AEW run. I thought it was awesome on screen. But, you know, I just don't think, but my point is, like, I think that most likely the scenario I think that will play out, and I think this is probably works best for everyone, is Punk and Rollins at WrestleMania, regardless of who wins that match. I prefer to see Rollins win, but I'd imagine Punk will probably win. You have Cody beat Roman, and you save Punk and Roman for later as like a non-title, like, you know, you got a big story there that doesn't need the title with him, the bloodline, Paul Heyman, their history and everything there, being a Paul Heyman guy. But there is a part of me, once again, for all the Punk fans out there, and even for just wrestling fans in general, like myself, like, it's like Roman Reigns has the title for so long. And realistically speaking, I think Cody is the only person on the roster who anyone thinks actually has a chance at beating him for this thing. Because everyone else who's had a chance, even recently, like, people didn't really buy LA Knight. People didn't really buy Jey Uso. You know,
people wanted it. Like,
I know they wanted it, but like, did you really think that like Roman was going to lose? Like, not at WrestleMania. Like,
I don't think the people like us thought that, but the crowd was enough behind them to where there was enough hype to where, like, yeah, this could happen, and it would make a lot of sense.
Well, I agree with you, but I guess what I'm really saying is more like WWE did a really, really good job of building all those challengers up to make people think like, oh, this is a formidable opponent for Roman Reigns to get a title shot against Roman Reigns. But yes, people like us were like, I just don't see him losing because of these reasons. But I think everybody would see Punk as a threat. The casuals, us, everyone, because we'd all be like, what if they actually did it? Like, what if after all this time and everything he said, he's the one to beat Roman Reigns? And you know the match would be super interesting. So I feel like there's like a missed opportunity if Punk doesn't get a shot at Roman, but I absolutely wouldn't have Punk beat Roman. And it would have to happen before WrestleMania, because you got to do Cody and Roman at WrestleMania, unless The Rock somehow slides back into that. That's always a fear of mine. But that's too much to get in before WrestleMania, and you got the Seth thing. So I think the way it's going to play out, I think whether Punk wins the Royal Rumble or not, we're going to get Punk and Rollins at WrestleMania night 1 for that title. We'll get we'll get Cody and Roman night 2, unless something crazy happens and The Rock winds up back, and then they got to figure something out for Cody. But one last thing I want to say about Cody that you mentioned for the title that is very important. You mentioned, well, Rollins has had this title for like almost a year or whatever at this point, and Cody hasn't even hinted that he has any interest in this thing. And that's true, and that needs to kind of be highlighted, because realistically speaking, it makes no sense that there's a guy who's holding a world heavyweight championship that lost to a guy on your active roster 3 times in a row, and you're giving other people chances while this other guy beats Brock Lesnar in a trilogy and all the other stuff he's done. And somehow it's like So it's one of those things where they've literally made it look like whatever Cody's doing in his goals and finishing the story, that's actually more important than the title that Rollins holds. So that's, Cody's agenda is more important. And that is a little strange. Like, I do think it's kind of weird that Cody hasn't even once been like, I want that also, when he's beaten that guy 3 times. And that's supposed to be a world championship.
I'm with you. I mean, the fact that Cody hasn't mentioned it at all is, I wish Cody would address it a little bit more. I think he did address it when it first became a thing. But then he got taken out by Brock, and then he just did the whole feud with Brock, and then he teamed with Rollins at War Games, and now he's working with Nakamura and everything. But for Punk, I think he wants to make Rollins' life miserable more than just kind of winning the title. The title is extra because the title proves that he's better than Seth Rollins. And right now Rollins is claiming, like he's the actual best in the world. And that's where Punk is like, nah, I am. And that I know how much that title means to you. I want to take this, and this title is going to tell you that I'm home. Rollins has done the best he can of trying to make this the workhorse title, make this established title of you're here every week, you're putting the company on your back, you're trudging forward, and you are the company guy because you have this title. While Roman is, of course, off television for months at a time. And I think that's what I think that's where Punk again makes a lot of sense for Seth Rollins, because he wants to needle Seth Rollins more than Roman, where Roman and Punk doesn't need that title.
Right.
By the way, I don't think it actually needs the title. That's an intriguing enough feud without the title.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Sorry. You froze for just a second. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. I like that Punk's comments about being a monkey wrench on SmackDown, where he's like, I'm the guy who can throw a monkey wrench to all this. I love that comment because it's so true. Because I've said this a lot, of the only match at Mania that I'm 100% locked in, that I feel is 100% locked in, is Jay against Jimmy. Everything else, I have no idea. You could tell me it's Punk and Roman. You can tell me it's Punk and Seth. You can tell me it's Cody and Punk. You can tell me it's Cody and Roman. You can tell me it's Rock and Roman. I have no idea what the other matches at Mania are. And throwing Punk into this is a big monkey wrench, because where he goes is going to dictate where a lot of other people go.
Yeah, that's very true. It's very true. But I feel like at this, they're obviously leading us to believe it's going to be Seth and Punk. I guess it's possible that could happen before WrestleMania, but it makes too much sense to do it at WrestleMania, I think. But there are options. There are options out there. Things can change. Obviously, I'm not wishing this on anybody, but people get hurt, stuff happens. You never know. So people become available again. The Rock could want to come back. You could have other celebrities that want to get involved, and that might start pushing some people and shifting them into other spots. Hell, years back, there was that match where it was Cody and Sandow or whatever against against Tyrus or something like that. It was a WrestleMania match that literally got cut during WrestleMania. They were like, yeah, we just don't have time for it. Sorry. They were they're backstage ready to go. They're like, wait, we're just not on WrestleMania anymore. On the spot, they found that out. So even to that can happen. Think about how crazy that is, by the way, and how that probably has never really. How many times in history has somebody been pushed off of WrestleMania during WrestleMania because of timing? That's probably never happened before.
No, it has.
You got kicked completely off. You had a match scheduled and you just didn't have the match that night.
Yeah, it was WrestleMania 10. There was that 10-man tag with Jeff Jarrett and Mabel and all these people.
Oh yeah,
and that got completely bumped.
Yeah, but we're talking rare. We're talking 40 WrestleManias almost now, and
total divas. I don't know if it was a storyline or what, but that one got cut too.
I remember that, but that was a little different. I think that was a
storyline more than, I don't know if that was full storyline, because we're gonna cut this match to make a total diva storyline. That's still shitty.
Well, I don't think they really cared about the divas too much back then, just in general. You know what I mean? I'm not telling you tales out of school. They used to treat the women a lot differently than they do now. Anyways, my point is, you're actually strengthening my argument, by the way, because now you're making it sound like, okay, well, it actually is pretty common that this kind of stuff can change like this. So my whole point with bringing any of this up is things can change. So like anything we even think is locked in right now isn't really locked. I mean, the Elimination Chamber is a dangerous match. They're putting people who are supposed to be like key players in WrestleMania in a match that's super dangerous. Like the Royal Rumble, the person every year, they've got someone who goes out there at number one and lasts all the way to the final four or something like that. They always have these little storylines within the Rumble, and it usually includes some sort of Iron Man for the night. And that's dangerous. I mean, I know they're not like taking a lot of bumps usually during that, but it's like a lot can happen in a wrestling ring over the span of being in there in an hour with a whole bunch of different people and all the timing and stuff. So my point once again is just like things can change, things happen. Nothing is really set in stone. Even last year, Cody Peck blows out, and it's like, okay, anything we had planned for the next 9 months for him, she got a shelf. It's just like that happens a lot with people, and it's just unpredictable. So I hope that the plans are what we were saying, and I hope that and to kind of put a bow on the conversation for Punk and Rollins, which was the topic. I was thoroughly entertained by the segment. I really liked what Seth was saying, and I'll call it a 10-8 round. I won't go as far as to say 10-7. I know you might be going 10-9, but what it did that is very interesting, even more so to me, is the seeds are planted now where Punk has had like a whole week now to to fire back. Right. So I feel like the next time we hear from CM Punk, he's going to be bringing some fire. So I think it's going to be good. I like what we got so far.
Dylan points out that it was the same match, Cody and Sandow, and the Bellas against Brodus, Tenzai, and Trent. And
it is the same match.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. You're right. It was a mixed tag match with the Divas and the Rhodes Scholars in them. Okay, so that wasn't a storyline, but that was the same match. Anyways, that sucks. How bad would that suck to be backstage in Gorilla, ready to go out there for your match at WrestleMania in a stadium, biggest match of your life, and just sorry, ran out of time.
Well, Chisholm says Charlotte just got hurt, so you never know. We know Rock isn't coming back because he just signed on to play a UFC fighter. I don't know when that Mark Kerr movie is going to start filming or anything. Rock's got to get in good shape for that, so maybe he can get in good shape to do a wrestling run, to do a Mania run here.
I'm looking forward to that Smashing Machine movie. The documentary years ago was incredible. Like that was one of the first real successful MMA documentaries I can remember. And they announced this Rock Mark Kerr movie 5 years ago. I remember Rock's been wanting to.
Rock's been wanting to do this for a very long time.
Yeah, so this is going to be good stuff for people who don't know. I look into it if I were y'all, and if you aren't MMA fans, Mark Kerr was really important in the early days of the UFC, but struggled big time with steroids and emotional stuff and the politics and everything going on in the early days of the UFC. And so it'll be a fascinating, the documentary about Mark Kerr called The Smashing Machine that The Rock is going to be basing this off of is fantastic. I'd highly recommend it for anyone who just likes documentaries in general, even if you're not a fight fan.
I'm very interested to see The Rock play this kind of role.
Yeah. But he's going to be perfect for it, I think. Because he looks the part. He's an MMA fan. I know most of his roles are he's kind of the guy you see in Fast and Furious and so much stuff. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. I mean, he's wanted to do it for so long. I mean, I feel like he's not going to drop the ball on this.
It's done. It's going to be done by A24, who just did the Iron Call film, who's getting a lot of good feedback, but they had good actors for that. I don't know. I'm very curious to how The Rock looks in this film. Look, if he can pull it off, more credit to him. I've seen The Rock in a lot of films, and he plays one or two roles in the 50 films he's in.
Plays The Rock.
Yeah. Bala says, which way are you guys leaning for Booker and promotion of the year? Leaning WWE since they developed characters better and kept me eager to turn the page. I think the best thing that could happen for AEW is if Triple H or Shawn Michaels wins Booker of the Year.
Yeah.
Because Tony Khan is going to be like that Jordan meme of and I took that personal.
Yes.
He's going to be very upset if he does not win for the first time in history. He does not win Booker of the Year, and he is going to be like, I'm going to show all of you fuckers.
Man, I can just see Tony Khan doing a pro. You know how he was doing the those promos in Impact during the pandemic?
Yeah.
As like a heel. I could see him like, this is a bad idea. I'm not saying you should do this, but I think it'd be kind of funny. They kind of did it. They did this kind of an Always Sunny on a recent episode this past season, but it'd be funny if Tony Khan wore like one of those like really large suits, because like Jordan used to wear like the tall suits and like the big hoop earring. If Tony like wore like a big earring and like a big suit and was talking like Jordan, that upset me. Like we're gonna do something about this. My competitive nature will not allow this to happen. Listen, Bala, you got an argument there. Last year and in the last handful of years, I would have said there's no way that the WWE could be, Booker, Triple H or whatever would be Booker of the Year in the current landscape, or Vince McMahon, even more specifically before Triple H. But I think there is a strong argument that could be made that WWE, their show isn't always for me. It's because it's so catered towards a younger audience. But when I watch it, I enjoy it. Like I appreciate what they're trying to do. I like what Triple H, what he's doing with this company. I thoroughly enjoy all the PLEs. Like I watch all of the PLEs on live on Peacock, and I legitimately enjoy them. Like it's a different experience than watching AEW, which is a different experience than watching GCW or any other indie that I cover, or Impact or whatever. Like it's all different. But I think if you're a fan of the WWE, you've had a really good year. And there's a lot of buzz for this company. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. They've always been, I always joke about it. When you look at the McDonald's arches, you turn it upside down. That's WWE. And that's what they want worldwide. Like they are a worldwide conglomerate, and their writing this year has it's been good. I've been interested in most of the stories. They're treating Cody pretty well outside of screwing him for the title at Mania. They've done a good job of building him for this Mania. And I think their production, everything's the best in the world, literally, than any company you'll ever find for any level of entertainment. I think WWE's top-notch production. Like, I think WWE's killed it this year in a good way. So I honestly wouldn't be upset. And listen, AEW I think has had a great year also, for like in most senses. Like they've had a lot of great matches, great storylines, a lot of really good stuff going on over there. But I'd be okay with them saying WWE, promotion or, creative booker of the year or whatever. But I don't know if I'd go that far with NXT, but that's to be fair, it's because I don't pay attention to NXT as closely. I watched Level Up for the Weekender, and I watched the PLEs for not Takeover, Deadline. I saw like recently. Those are good shows. They are. I really like Ilya Dragunov. I've liked him for a long time. Like they got really good talent there. But I don't know if I'd probably go. I'd be okay with the WWE, AEW, NXT as like the 1, 2, 3 booking wise right now. I think that'd be kind of fair.
Chi-Town Spurs says, Punk going from anti-corporate voice of the voiceless to potentially bringing back the WWE monopoly is comedic tragedy at its finest. I know there's a lot of talk of WWE and Warner Brothers Discovery. Apparently they've had meetings. I just read the report from PW Insider that said they had a meeting on Monday. Tony Khan said on Tuesday that he had talks with Warner Brothers Discovery. I don't know how deep all these talks are. One, I think WWE's smart to talk to everybody. Two, I think Warner Brothers Discovery is smart to talk to everybody. Three, I don't think anything gets settled until NBA rights get settled. None of these companies are going to pay for Raw if they think the NBA product, if that's still within reach. And for Warner Brothers, that's where the NBA product is right now, at least part of it. They have the TNT games on Thursday nights, some Tuesday nights, and then playoffs and things like that. So I don't think we're getting any type of update on Raw until we find out where the NBA lands.
Do you know, because I legitimately have no idea what the difference or the discrepancy or whatever is, but do you like, and I could probably find it if I just looked, but what's the difference in like how much the NBA gets in a rights deal versus what like the WWE or like?
So right now, And this is just a very quick search right now. Like NBA is getting, and this is all of their kind of network. So this is ESPN, ABC, Warner Brothers, Discovery. Like this is all of their deals. It's 24 billion over 9 years. That's what they got on their last deal.
What's WWE get? Like
WWE
5?
got like 1 billion over 5 years for on their last deal.
1 billion each year for 5 years?
No, 1 billion
total
over the years. Yeah, so I think it's like total. Yeah.
What a wow. Good for the NBA. I mean, I knew there was a difference, obviously.
Like
but that's wild.
It says, again, this is just a very quick Google search. This is not a deep into things. It says NBA could be looking at like 75 billion for the next media deal. Like the NFL deal, their last deal, that's pretty huge because they're going to do bigger business.
Sorry, you froze for a second.
Yeah.
I think it's because you're searching. Sorry, I'm like having you do these searches if I slow your computer down.
So the last, okay, well, this is from the 2014 to 2022 was 39.6 billion for the NFL. They're saying the next NFL right deal could be 100 billion. So, yeah, sports is a big business, and in the NBA, they're going to settle those deals. You got to figure out how much you're committing to the NBA before you figure out how much you're committed to WWE, and you're going to obviously spend a lot of money on NBA, and then you don't have or whatever money is left over.
Sorry, Jeremy's freezing. I heard everything he said up to that point, though. Hopefully he recalibrates here in just a second. We can hear him okay. I think he's starting to. Oh, there we go. You're starting to unfreeze. I could hear what you were saying there. You were just frozen on the screen. That's man, but you're right. I mean, when you're dealing with potentially around $100 billion, you got to decide on what you're going to do with that first before you make a decision on the $1 billion. That's amazing. Where we're just like, yeah, just $1 billion. I mean, just $1 billion, $100 billion for something. But I totally believe it with the amount of money people are throwing at just like entertainment right now. It's like this money isn't even real. Like they're once again a completely side conversation, but like, I follow the streaming world, and like kick.com, which doesn't even have an app on most, you can't even watch it through like most platforms. You got to go like to the website or like download the app on your phone, but you can't watch it off most stuff. They're giving streamers these insane deals to not even be exclusive to their platform, but they're backed by companies like stake.com, like big, these large conglomerate companies that have unlimited money. And when you start seeing that kind of stuff, you're like, man, if people can throw $100 million at a live streamer to sit on their computer and react to things on Kick, it totally makes sense they'd give the NBA or NFL $100 billion. Because it's like this money isn't real at this point if you can give someone that much money. That's great. That's a crazy amount of money.
You've also got to remember when it comes to this stuff is it's negotiations, right? And so WWE could just be going to Warner Brothers. Again, it all makes sense for all of these companies. Hey, we're going to go to Warner Brothers. They're offering this much. What are you going to counter with? Warner Brothers going to WWE. Hey, we can get WWE for this much, and it's going to be more profitable than you. So we're going to throw this much at AEW. Like Warner Brothers could be driving AEW price down, or WWE could be driving their price up by using Warner Brothers. Like they're all using each other to get to their ultimate goal at the end. And then it's just a game of, I don't want to say chicken, but it's just a game waiting and who's going to eventually make the deal at the right time. My thoughts on everything are nothing's getting decided until the NBA gets decided, because once they get decided, then these companies are going to know how much money they have left to throw at them. And then they might increase their offer for WWE, or they might decrease their offer for WWE or wherever they might go. So yes, they're all talking to each other. I'm sure of that, but I wouldn't wait on any news until we get news about the NBA.
Yeah, I'm with you. You're still a little bit off with the camera, but I can still hear you good.
Okay. Will says in defending Cody's booking, to be fair, Cody's only been by two people this whole time, Roman and Brock.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. I mean, they've been very good to Cody outside of WrestleMania 39. They've been great to him.
Speaking of Cody, he was saved by the Creed brothers this past week after the Shinsuke Nakamura match, which ended in a DQ, which very much upset me. Don't do these long matches with no finishes. I hate that. Absolutely hate it, especially in the main event. Don't do that.
Yeah. I think you're going to have to exit the room and come back in.
All
Jeremy.
right. Okay.
I'll take it from here for the Creeds for a second. So, the Creed brothers. I am a fan of these guys, right? I like them a lot. I know I mentioned I don't watch NXT all the time, but I do watch the PLEs, and I was familiar with the Creed brothers because I was very impressed by these guys. Very athletic guys, and this. Oh, here we go. Switched around. You're way better now. Perfect. I was just saying, like, I like the Creed brothers a lot, and I really like that. This is like a vote of confidence for me as a fan for like Triple H, because I feel like if Triple H wasn't in charge and he didn't have this relationship with NXT and with Shawn and like the Creed brothers and their development, they wouldn't be in this position so quickly on the main roster, and they should be. I like that they're in the mix and they're the number one contenders of the tag titles already, and I like where they're at a lot with the Creed brothers. And it's interesting because now they're coming in, they're saving the day. They saved Cody at the end of Raw. They saved R-Truth after the beatdown from the Judgment Day. So, like, I like that they're getting involved in this, and they got a good shot at winning the tag team titles. And I could see them being. We were talking before about how heading into WrestleMania, especially for someone like Cody, last year what cost him in the main event was he was outnumbered by the Bloodline, and this year, like, who are going to be flanking Cody? Like, who's going to be on Cody's side, helping him out and making sure this doesn't happen to him again? I could see the Creed brothers as being like part of kind of Team Cody, helping him out, like fighting people off and stuff. So I think this is cool that they're doing something more with the Creed brothers than just them going out and winning matches and becoming like this generic team and getting a title shot. It's like, okay, like they're getting a title shot, but they are winning matches and they are getting a title shot, but they're also now actually involved with performers on the show that are like main event level people and stuff. So they're becoming more than just wrestlers. They're becoming more characters on the show too, which is going to be huge for them.
I think they should win the titles from Judgment Day. I would be all for that. Be all for the Creed brothers winning, and then Judgment Day, they continue to be a little fractured with things, even though they are fine. But I do like the Creed brothers. They're very impressive in the ring. They'll continue to get better with the television stars, the television presence. We working with guys like Cody, and even like a Chad people work with him is good stuff from them. So yeah, for the Creed, it didn't seem to be a ton of sense. I'm sorry, everybody.
You're good. Yeah, Jeremy's internet is just killing us today. If you want to switch over to the, I can do the bumper. If you want to. If you need to log back out and back in, I can kick off the AEW topics.
I've done all that. I don't know, but I'm trying to switch on. I might go off for a second.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna hit this real quick because Jeremy's completely frozen now. I don't know if you can even hear me. Okay, I got a message from him. Hold on a second. Oh no, never mind. That's a comment from the chat. Okay, I'm gonna hit the bumper. I'm gonna talk a little about AEW while Jeremy gets this figured out here. And AEW Spotlight.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. And it was a great show, and I think it's been a run of great shows.
AEW Spotlight. Jeremy's still trucking along. I see him just barely moving around on his screen. The Devil threw Jeremy's internet through real glass. That's a good comment, and we might as well talk about that real quick. Last night at the end of AEW Dynamite, we had another segment where after the main event, we got backstage in the parking lot, Hangman Page surrounded by the goons of the Devil. The Devil himself is in a car watching this all happen from right there from the same parking lot. The Devil basically gives the nod to the goons, and they double choke slam Hangman Page through the glass windshield of the car. Once again, the Devil has utilized real glass to take out one of their ops. Jeremy, I don't know if we'll be able to hear you or not, but does this lead even more to the idea that Jack Perry is the devil? Because that's the more I see Real Glass, the more I feel like it's Jack Perry.
I think so. That's definitely what I think they want you to think as well.
Yes.
Because the last time we saw Jack Perry was the Real Glass and was a windshield on a car, right? That was the spot with Hook at All In. So I think they want you to lead. That's where they're trying to lead you. I still think it's Adam Cole. I'm still of the belief. I'm not going away from my belief that it's Adam Cole, by the way. But I think they want you to believe that it's Jack Perry through all of these spots. But I'm still on Adam Cole. I've seen a lot of stuff with the Devil stuff. Like, I thought last night was fine. Last night felt very just pro wrestling, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, last night I felt like I was watching the end of like a Nitro episode.
Yeah,
which I loved Nitro, so
Same.
it definitely felt like the end of a Nitro episode. Oh, we're tagging Hangman in the parking lot. Here's the Devil coming out of the limo and then getting slammed. Hangman getting slammed onto the windshield in the car. Like, it felt very much like an episode of Nitro last night.
Yeah, but I mean, but in a good way. Like, I feel like we got the equivalent of like some like banger WCW cruiserweight matches, almost like level of stuff, like with like the Cruiserweight Classic. Like a modern day. Like, it would be like watching Nitro, but it was all like banger matches. And you didn't get like any of like the weird upper mid card main event stuff of like the veterans who like didn't care anymore, that were just going out there doing nothing on Nitro. It was like getting all the guys who work hard out there on Nitro, and then a Nitro kind of ending with a car pulling up in the parking lot and a backstage segment. I think Chi-Town Spurs is probably right, and so are you, Jeremy. I think the Real Glass stuff probably is a red herring, but it's also enough inside baseball that like the casual viewer probably wouldn't put all that together, but like it's clues for the hardcore fans. The good thing is either way, it makes sense. Like, if it winds up being Jack Perry, I'm okay with it. As a matter of fact, I just got this in the mail yesterday. I got to support my favorite wrestlers, Jeremy. This just came in the mail from Ringside Collectibles. This also came in yesterday too. I mean, I'm not gonna be not collected for my boy, but I love Jack Perry. I respect that guy a lot, and I think that if he winds up being the Devil, I think that'd be really cool. But I think Adam Cole makes the absolute most sense, and that probably should be who the Devil is still. Or it could still be MJF. I still think there's a chance it still could be him. But I think the Real Glass thing either is a red herring or the best kind of set of clues for the hardcore. Either way, it's like the clues make sense and we solved the case and it is him, or it's a red herring that works. So I feel like that's kind of a win-win. Unless you hate Jack Perry and you just do not want to see Jack Perry as the Devil, which I think that there are probably plenty of fans that are just like, well, I think you've said it yourself that Jack Perry, like, it wouldn't hit the same way that like Adam Cole would.
That was the second part of Chi-Town Spurs Super Chat. Is it's crazy how much gaslighting has been done on Perry since he dared to stand up to CM Punk. Yeah, a lot of people are already talking like, oh, it's Jack Perry, it's a big bust of a storyline and everything. I don't think it's a bust of a storyline. I think that the Adam Cole stuff just makes more sense to me. But if you're using this to get Jack Perry over as your top heel, essentially, you're putting a lot of trust into Jack Perry. I'm not super sold that he can be that guy. And maybe that's where I have the disconnect is I don't know if he can be that top heel that this storyline is going to lead to. I think Adam Cole can do it. I've seen Adam Cole be a top heel, be a smarmy dick of a person. MJF, certainly, he's been that guy for the majority of his career. Maybe I just need to see it with Jack Perry. I did like his heel work, by the way, after he turned and he became Jack Perry. I do think he was doing good work. There were some rough moments, but there's always going to be rough moments when it's kind of a new character and everything. So I just don't know if he's going to be able to pull it off. And if he can, more power to him. I'm not going to immediately downplay like, oh, Jack Perry, this is a bust of an angle type of thing. It's going to be on Perry to carry that afterwards, because the follow-up is always what's going to be not remembered, but is what's going to make or break this stuff. right? Like, okay, the reveal, the reveal's cool, but then how are you following up with that? Are you going to treat it serious moving forward, or are you going to just dismiss it? And if you just dismiss it, it feels like all a waste. And that's
Right.
going to come to the Continental Classic, which we're going to talk about right now. Unless you have anything to add about the Devil.
The only other thing that I would add is that I see people mentioning Britt Baker as the Devil. She was actually the first person that I mentioned that I thought it was, because the first time they showed the Devil, it looked like it could have been either a man or a woman in this, because it was just like a smaller figure person that they showed in the mask the first time. And I was like, that could be Britt, and it would make sense if it's Britt because of her relationship with Adam. And it also could be MJF because of her like she could turn on Adam and side with MJF, or she could be working with Adam this whole time. So I'll just throw that out there as my last thing about that topic. Is I think it is also very possible Britt is either the Devil or also involved with this for sure.
I think the Devil is stupid, by the way, for attacking Hangman Page, because Hangman's being accused. They should continue to frame Hangman to make it seem like it's him. By attacking him, you're giving away that it is not him. So I think the Devil is dumb for this. There, that's my hot take on things.
It makes sense to logically, like what you're saying, though. You're giving away that it isn't Hangman Page. So like they could have kept blaming him for stuff and make you think it's him for sure.
Exactly. That's what I would have done. I would have been continue to frame Hangman, be like, look at this asshole. And then Hangman becomes hopefully a bigger baby face out of it. But now you've taken Hangman off the table. Now Samoa Joe looks like a jerk. That big mean Samoa Joe being a jerk for accusing Hangman when it wasn't him. Continental Classic coming down to the final week here. Next week is the final week in league play. So I don't know if you know the scenarios, Jensen, but for the Dynamite League, I'm going to call it's the Gold League, but I call it the Dynamite League. Jon Moxley, Swerve Strickland, Jay White all still have a chance. And my favorite scenario that could play out, if Jay White beats Jon Moxley and Swerve beats Roosh, we get a 3-way tie at the top, because the tiebreakers is head-to-head competition, but Jay has a win over Moxley. Moxley has a win over Swerve. Swerve has a win over Jay. So the tiebreakers all cancel each other out. So I think that would be a 3-way in the finals for the league. I think that's what it would be.
Yeah, because otherwise, right, it's just the top 2 are the semis for each league, and then it's the finals, right? So
yeah,
you would have to figure out if there's a 3-way tie where the tiebreakers all offset.
It would be a 3-way match in the league finals.
No, but that could just get totally debunked, though, right? If just Mox wins.
If Mox wins or draws against Jay White, then he's automatically in. Then it would come down to, if it's a draw, then White would get 1 point. And if Swerve loses, White moves on. If Swerve wins, Jay loses, then Swerve goes on to the finals. Yeah, Moxley just needs a win or a draw, and he's automatically into the finals. Jay needs to win a draw at worst. Swerve needs to win a draw at worst, because Swerve has the tiebreaker over Jay White. No matter what, Swerve has that tiebreaker. So Jay needs to win to basically get out of the tiebreaker. But if Jay and Moxley goes to a draw and Swerve loses to Roosh, then Jay goes on, because Jay would have 1 more point than Swerve, because they're right now tied, but Swerve has the tiebreaker over him. Hopefully this makes a lot of sense to people listening, because I was trying to math this out last night, and I was like, I think this is correct. And it sounds very convoluted, but it's not. This is just how tournaments and round robin tournaments work.
Exactly. I mean, it's a round robin tournament where, I mean, it's a point-based tournament where the winner gets 3, the loser gets 0, or what draws are 1. So like there's only so many different scenarios you could really get, because certain people are going to have to take zeros throughout the thing along the way too, and get eliminated and stuff. So like, I would say, because like last night Mox beat Swerve, and Swerve's shoulder clearly wasn't down, and he was grabbing the tights, which I think is going to be played into throughout this also. That was like an illegitimate win, but Mox is still going to get the points for it. But yeah, your scenario, I hadn't really thought about that though, how like it could technically wind up in and I think you would have to do a 3-way whether it's a triple threat or like a 3-way elimination or something, you'd have to do it that. I think most likely they'll figure it to where it's just Mox is going to get in, and they got to figure out if they want to run back Mox and Jay White, or if they want to run Mox and Swerve. I'd probably run Mox and Swerve again, because then you can play off of them not getting the real win last night.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think
that's what I go with.
A lot's going to depend on the match order next week for Dynamite. My guess is Swerve and Roosh go on first, and Swerve wins. That sets up the main event where Jay White has to win, and Moxley just needs a win or a draw. And I think that might go to a draw. That way you protect Jay White a little bit. Moxley doesn't have to win that match. He just needs 1 point out of that. But then Jay doesn't take the loss there to Moxley. He can now have a claim that he did not lose to Jon Moxley like everybody else did in the tournament. But that gives you Moxley and Swerve in the finals. I think that's where they're going to go. But I also can because the way this is set up, I could very much see, let's do a triple threat. Let's do a 3-way. They don't do a lot of 3-ways in AEW. Like, kind of a rare match for them based on just how many matches overall they do. But I think this needs to be settled in a one-on-one fashion between Swerve and Moxley.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I like that they had the match last night, and that for people who don't know, there's a story about Jon Moxley that him and Renee have both told, how Moxley didn't know that Swerve was Killshot until recently, which is like the best story ever, because Moxley, apparently one of Moxley's like favorite matches ever is that Swerve, or the Killshot versus Dante Fox, AR Fox match over in Lucha Underground. And when Swerve came, this is so years and years later, Swerve's been in Lucha Underground, been in WWE since then and all this. Now he's in AEW, and Mox said he like walked up to Swerve backstage when he found out. He was like, "Hey man, you Killshot?" And Swerve was like, "Yeah." And he was just like, "Man, I thought that guy just had like one badass match and just like disappeared." He's like, he was like a favorite wrestler. It was Killshot, and he didn't even know he was the same guy. And now he got to wrestle him, which it's kind of full circle. I thought it was kind of cool.
The Blue League is pretty open right now. Andrade and Brody King was fantastic last night, by the way. That match rolled. But Andrade is undefeated. Danielson, Eddie Kingston is still like has a shot if he kind of wins out on stuff. So I wouldn't rule him completely out on that. Danielson's obviously still there. And Claudio and Brody King would have to win some matches. He'd kind of have to win out, much like Kingston. Brody King can still get second place and potentially first if somebody beats Andrade. But so for the final scenarios here, Garcia is the only one that's like mathematically done in this scenario. Everybody else needs a lot of wins. Andrade is in kind of a driver's seat position because he's still 3-0. It feels like that's going to come back to Danielson and Andrade, but I know a lot of people are thinking that Kingston's going to kind of run the table here and find his way into one of those final spots. But I don't know. I think it's going to come back to Danielson and Andrade.
I think you're probably right. I could see Kingston making a run. I do kind of expect that also, but Andrade has been on fire. So I kind of wouldn't want to mess with that either. Like, and Danielson should keep going. Like, just Danielson. This is made for him. So I'm with you, though. I think Andrade and Danielson's the most likely, but I'm not counting Kingston out yet either.
Yeah, Kingston could sneak into that second spot, and then Kingston and Andrade in the league finals, and then who knows who wins the finals there. Kingston and Swerve would be a lot of fun at the pay-per-view at World's End to crown the winner. That would be a lot of fun. That's a match that you don't think about until it's kind of in front of you, and it's very much in front of us right now, to where I'm thinking like, oh yeah, give me that one.
Hell yeah. I'm down.
All right. Anything else from AEW you want to hit upon?
No, we're good on AEW. Let's figure out which topic we should do next, just because I gotta leave a little early today. People who are coming in, who came in late, I have my second job interview for my promotion is actually in about 15 minutes. So I have to change into a suit and tie or a shirt and tie and get back on here for my interview. So I gotta leave in about 5 minutes, but let's go with would you rather talk Final Battle or Indies?
You pick whichever one you want to talk about.
Okay, let's talk Final Battle. Let's talk some Final Battle real quick.
I was going to hit the bumper.
Sorry,
that is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
All right, Final Battle.
Yeah,
Final Battle. What stands out to you on this card, Jensen?
Obviously, Athena and Billy Starks. We talked about that a bit last week. I went back and I rewatched. They put out like a 2-hour-long video of like the build-up for this on the AEW website. So I'd recommend people checking that out if you haven't been able to watch Ring of Honor week by week and see this like unfold over like the last year or so. Billy Starks will become the new Ring of Honor World Women's Champion. I'm calling it. It's going to happen. It needs to happen. Love Billy Starks. Can't wait to see this. Long time coming. And then it gives Athena the chance to go to AEW full time. It makes a lot of sense. Tony Khan's even been kind of talking about that recently. They announced Vikingo versus Black Taurus. I love that. That match is going to be fire. Black Taurus is, I don't want to call one of the most underrated guys in the game, but I feel like he gets kind of overlooked just because like of the gimmick and stuff. But like he's incredible in the ring. And everyone knows
We've talked about it with Gringo Loco, like Black Taurus, the like basing for people. And like you give, Jeff Valley Driver even says that Black Taurus is the best base in the game. Like you give that person Vikingo, that's gonna be a fire match.
It's gonna be fire. So like I can't wait to see that one. I'm gonna guess Vikingo retains, but man, Black Taurus is the man also. So this is gonna be awesome. And then I mean, I'd say those are the two things I'm the most looking forward to. And then like I'm interested in the Jay Briscoe Memorial match. Like, you know, just the seeing FTR team with Mark Briscoe against the BCC. Like those are the three things that I'm looking forward to the most on the show. But the thing I'm the most looking forward to, I would say, I think the match versus Vikingo and Black Taurus is going to steal the show. And I really hope that Billy Starks wins the championship.
I kind of think Athena's going to win and Billy's going to chase a little bit longer. That's my gut. I'm for Billy Starks winning, by the way. I'm for Billy Starks winning and then Athena just being part of the AEW roster. Like I want to see Athena more in AEW, but I also recognize the value of her just being in ROH and being able to do this in ROH, because if she's just going to be on AEW to like do a couple of matches, not really be figured in any type of actual storyline, I don't want that. I'd rather her be in ROH. I've said so many times on every show I've been on, I like the separation between the two companies because that allows them to shine a little bit more. So I don't have a problem with Athena being on ROH television. Do I think she's good enough to be on AEW television? Yes, but I don't want her on AEW if she's just going to be random wrestler A who's just having matches. The stuff she's doing in ROH at least has some depth to it and some substance to it. But yes. I'm really looking forward to that match. I'm looking forward to the Jay Briscoe Memorial match as well. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's 6 wrestlers that I really enjoy watching wrestle, so it'll be a lot of fun. Yes, yeah. It's ROH Final Battle. It's Friday, same night as SmackDown. A lot of wrestling on Friday. If you have nothing better to do on a Friday night,
I think Jake Paul's boxing on Friday too.
Tomorrow. He is. Yeah.
And no one's talking about it.
No.
So I mean, that's a whole other conversation. Before I leave, would you rather? Oh, I can hit on the other topic and then jump real quick into one of the indie topics before I get out of here. I can do that really quick. Yeah. So our other topic, and you can feel free to elaborate for the next like 10 minutes or whatever. Anything else you want to talk about while I'm gone, of course. But our other topic today was Richard Holliday returning to MLW. He appeared after the main event of One Shot. Alex Kane retained the MLW World Heavyweight Championship over Matt Cardona. And after the match, Richard Holliday came out and he signed with WTF along with MSL. So he's a part of the World Titan Federation now. He'd been gone for, I want to say maybe between 6 months and a year since he did last seen in MLW, I believe.
It was a year since he was He had his last match
Already.
before cancer treatment. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was in
It's
November
already
of
that
last
long
year.
ago. Time flew
Yep.
this year in so many ways. And it's great to see Richard Holliday back. You know, he's killing it in GCW too. Recent heel turn aligned with Charles Mason and Pero and those guys. So it was, I definitely didn't expect to see Holliday back in MLW, but him coming back as a heel with kind of this new edge to him, part of the WTF. Now that Hammerstone's also kind of like leaving WTF or leaving MLW now, it makes sense like that Holliday would kind of come in and fill kind of one of those roles. So I like seeing Richard Holliday back in MLW. I think it's going to work. And from what I think has been reported through Fightful Select, I believe he's on like a per appearance basis. So I don't know how long he's going to be there. But I think you could definitely get some good stories with him in MLW. And if things are going well for everyone, maybe he sticks around longer. Or like I said, he's got a good stuff going on in GCW, and he pops up on the indies all over. And so I didn't expect to see Richard Holliday back, but I do think it makes sense for him and Alex Kane to have a world title program. And I'd imagine Alex Kane will retain over Holliday as well there. But it was good to see Holliday back. Good for that guy,
I didn't expect him back. I thought the ending was a little weird. It's like Holliday didn't even like say anything, and MSL's out there, and then Alex Kane was like, "Wait," and then they just cut the pay-per-view off. I was like, that's a little clunky ending there. We'll see how it plays out with Richard Holliday. I think he does very good work though, and I think I like the WTF. It's just a spoof on like old WWF stuff, which is hilarious to me.
Yes.
Like, I don't know how that plays like elsewhere, but for me, pops me, so I'm all for it.
Yes. I'm gonna hit sorry.
Okay.
I was gonna hit
You
the
hit the
indie bumper real quick, and then where is it? Where is the indie? Where there it is?
I'm gonna give a big motherfucking shout out.
Really quick before I go, sorry y'all, I have to leave early to do my second interview for this promotion. Shout out to Alex Kane. Just mentioned him retaining the MLW World Heavyweight Championship over Matt Cardona at MLW One Shot. MLW/WTF One Shot. I keep forgetting to mention they took that show over. Alex Kane is the new Action World Champion as well. It was a triple threat with the former champion Adam Priest and Cruel. There's a lot of story there that you can look into with Cruel never losing the IWTV title, his history with Adam Priest that goes really deep. Alex Kane, of course, being the MLW champion, and so on and so forth. The Good Hand, which is the group for Alex Kane in Action Wrestling. And basically what wound up happening was Cruel hit Scorched Earth, his finisher, on Adam Priest. And then Alex Kane kind of like speared Cruel out of the way and then pinned Adam Priest himself. And now Alex Kane is the Action Wrestling champion and the MLW champion. So big things happening for Alex Kane right now, not just in MLW, but all over the world of wrestling and collecting titles. And this is really kind of his time right now in a lot of ways. So I want to give a shout out to Alex Kane for becoming the new Action Wrestling World Champion.
And then Janela and Andrade from this past weekend. You have thoughts on that?
Great match. I mean, Andrade forced Janela to tap out to a figure four, which, that was pretty cool. I mean, just the nod there, I guess. But yeah, I mean, when Joey Janela, when anyone who's either a big star or someone, this doesn't apply to Andrade, but as far as like past their prime, but anybody with like any like big name value of any kind, when they come to GCW, Janela could be counted on as like, do them justice. You know what I mean? X-Pac's coming back. Janela. You know what I mean? Andrade's coming in. Janela. We're going to do a death match. Kota Ibushi. Right. Like, and so it made perfect sense that Janela would be the guy for this, and they killed it. It was a great match. They wrestled for it was like a half hour long or something. It was a long match. And Andrade with a nice spinning back elbow into the figure four for the tap out for the win. So yeah, good stuff. It was cool to see Andrade in GCW in that setting, and he's going to be having some more matches for GCW coming up. So he's
going to be facing Jonathan Gresham, which is going to be a really fun and interesting matchup. Yes,
I'm looking forward to that. All right, y'all, I got to go change and do this interview. So wish me luck. Hopefully the next time you talk to me, I'm promoted. If not, hopefully I don't lose my job and that I already got in the process somehow throughout this. That'd be hilarious. I'm interviewing for a promotion and somehow I lose my job during the interview or something.
This doesn't sound good. Don't put that out there.
No, positive vibes only, everybody. I appreciate it. I haven't worn a tie since your wedding, dude. So like, I'm going to go put a tie on and put a little button up on and make sure my bosses know that I'm very serious about this job. which I am. I am very serious about. I want this promotion. Worked hard for this. So see y'all. See you, Jeremy.
Luck,
see you,
Jensen.
chat. Appreciate that.
Let us know.
I'll keep y'all in the loop and enjoy the interview with Joel Pearl after this as well.
Yeah. Good luck, Stephen Jensen. Good luck. Somebody bonkers asking, where's the ROH Trios Championship? Gates of Agony have been in Japan doing World Tag League. I don't know if they're back yet. I think that might be a match that gets like added tonight on ROH. Because I don't think this card is done. They always do the 0 hour. So get ready for more matches like this card. Your typical ROH card / AEW card has like 13 matches. This match is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 matches. There's going to be more additions, everybody. There's just going to be more additions. So I think Gates of Agony and Brian Cage, trios, 6-man titles, whatever you call them, I think that's going to be added to this card. And Wheeler Yuta, the peer champion, he's probably going to be added to this card as well. Because I thought it was very, very interesting that Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley, or Danielson and Yuta did the backstage challenge to Mark and FTR. And then when they did the graphic, it's Moxley and Claudio and Danielson, and Yuta, who was part of the challenge, was not part of the match. So I imagine he's going to defend the title. So expect those 2 matches to be added to this show at the very least, on top of just random matches for the sake of just having matches on this show. So yeah, expect more matches to be added to this card tonight during ROH on Honor Club. All right, let's get into our creator spotlight. We had Joel Pearl on. People who have seen this channel enough, people who are on Fightful Overbooked, you know about Joel Pearl. But do you know everything about Joel Pearl? Do you know how all this started for him? If you do not, you can learn, you can find out about Joel Pearl right now in the creator spotlight.
Welcome everyone to the creator spotlight here on Fightful.com. I am at Joel Pearl, and it is time for an interview with someone that I'm personally very much a fan of. But these 2 guys have decided to call that person up because it's the middle of December and there is nothing else going on in the world of wrestling, and they're busy towards the end of the week. So it's me. Hi.
At least you recognize we're completely scraping the bottom of the barrel here. And it's like, what's Joel doing tonight? Yeah, we'll have him on the show.
I knew what we were getting into when I said yes. I was fully aware of what we were doing.
Man, no, we do appreciate you for coming on. We've been doing the show for a long time now. And I actually was thinking about it the other day. I think it was actually around the time we had Andrew Zarian on. Maybe it was around the time we had Zarian on. Or maybe there was somebody you had commented on somebody that we had on recently, and you were like, "Oh, cool, they're on." And I was like, "We've never had Joel on, have we?" I think it was Zarian. Yeah. But anyway, it was fairly recently, and I was like, I thought about it. I was like, I think we've talked to like the majority of like our buddies here on the show. I've known you for a long time. But you see Jeremy multiple times a week. We see each other often for our reviews, and it just never really crossed my mind. I was like, we've never actually had Joel on the show. Like, this is actually perfect timing to invite Joel on. So we do appreciate you coming on, man. It's kind of like a long time coming. So
it's weird just because like I obviously I watch the show and I listen to the Weekender, and I talk to you about the various things that you say on your shows and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, when I get an invite like this, it catches me off guard, because it's like, who wants to talk to me about the stuff I do, or like the wrestling stuff? Because I don't know. I'm a guy who hosts a wrestling show with the guy up in the corner part of the screen, and then I host another show with the other guy on the other side of the screen once a quarter. People hear me enough, but maybe we'll change up the conversation. It'll be less about what's going on in wrestling and what's going on in wrestling.
Well, for people who don't know, and I don't know if Jeremy knows this either, but I met you during the pandemic, like during like kind of the era of like. So at the time, myself and Jessie Davin were doing a show on her channel often because there was just all this free time. I would see you in the chat. I recognized you initially as like the guy who knew about other Jewish foods, because like I didn't like, I rarely see people talking about Jewish foods and stuff. And I was like, oh, I like this guy immediately. And then we had like the mutual connection, like through Fightful and Twitch. We eventually started doing the Mario Kart streaming and the Impact streaming on Twitch. And that feels like kind of forever ago when like you think about that. But I just want people to know that that's how long this kind of goes back. Like knowing Joel and like we both kind of knew each other before we were like as involved in Fightful, like as both of us are. And it's just kind of crazy that like both of us are doing all this with Fightful now. So it's kind of cool how much has happened in that amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a strange ride that it's been. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I hate that Impact went away from Twitch because that was a lot of fun.
So I will never forget that day. I was walking into it may have been my first ever like physical therapy session at the time. I was doing PT because of a back and arm injury. And then I get the notification from Impact being like, we're moving to YouTube. And by the way, last week's episode was the last one. No warning, no advance warning, just like, see ya, bye-bye. Come pay us money to watch the show. And I reach out to Jensen and I reach out to Jeremy and I'm like, oh, we can't do the Impact stream this week. What are we going to do? And then we ended up starting the Mario Kart random playing on Twitch just because, blow off some steam and just hang out with our pals. And that was fun. Like, I love that.
Yeah.
I miss that. And some people still bring it up to this day. Like, when are you going to bring it back? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe when my child doesn't keep us up at random hours. Like, it's just the way it is. But yeah, doing the Impact streams when it started, it was so much fun. And then when it ended, that sucked.
Yeah.
The Mario Karts will never return on Thursdays because now Joel has a shoot job on Thursdays. His shoot job is to actually review Impact. So you can praise me later, and you can tell everybody how you owe everything to me, which is the joke that I use with Kate. But how did the Impact review kind of get started? Because that's what most people know you for on this channel. As much as I love In the Weeds, it's going to be the Impact review.
So, okay, we did the Impact stuff, Jensen and I on Twitch, and then it ended. We talked about that. When enough people started complaining to Sean, why aren't you doing an Impact review? Or you're doing literally every other company out there, including an NXT Sour Graps review. And at the time, 2.0 was like not good. And it was basically Kate and Alex, mostly rightfully, ripping it apart for 2 hours each week. And people were wanting something different. They were enjoying an Impact. They wanted to get more of that and that positivity. And they said, we need it. And Sean said, okay, fine, there's enough. Let's do it. Let's try it. So he put out a bit of a casting call, if you will. And I didn't think I was going to do it at first. I was like, I don't need to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't think it's for me. And then I started saying, well, no, you like hosting and you like doing this stuff. And this is a foot in the door reviewing shows if that's what you want to do. And so it was maybe a week after Sean had put it out there, I sent a DM to him and I said, hey, if you haven't found anybody and you're looking for a host, like, I'll do it. That would be fun. And he's like, you're in. That's it. And I don't know if he was waiting for me. I don't know if it was just that, no one else fit the bill, or he just knew that I could do it because Sean knows me and he's seen me work. And then Cresta was the co-host, and immediately Cresta and I got along great. We sat in a Zoom room like this for a good 45 minutes, just getting to know each other and talking about where our wrestling fandom is and was and how we approach things, which is not seriously at all if you watch In the Weeds, or if you watch Cresta and I the Impact post shows. Like, we don't take shit seriously. We just banter and we talk about the matches. So it just kind of worked out, and it still works out to this day.
Cresta, I didn't know of Cresta beforehand. We've had her on this show. One, she carries you. I think you know that.
Oh, absolutely. No question.
But she's amazing. And like, for people who had never seen Cresta, heard of Cresta, like that being the introduction is such a good introduction. And I'll actually give you credit, Joel. You are very good at like hosting and at like playing off other people and throwing to other people. And I mean, you see it on our show all the time, but like, you are also very good at that with Cresta as well. Like, that's a talent because I don't think I'm good at hosting. I theoretically, technically host this show. I don't like doing the hosting.
I don't like doing it either, and that's why Jeremy does it on this show. I mean, and that's also why, like, I appreciate it when you do it for our Impact reviews, and also why before you were doing it, Denise did it for when I was on with her, because like, you guys are both very good at like keeping. The thing that I have the biggest trouble with when I try to host those kind of things is is staying on topic and like moving on when you need to, because I like to sidebar so much different stuff. My thoughts was always so all over the place, but you're really good at like, all right, this is supposed to be like an hour long or whatever. Like we're going to get everything we need in and we're going to keep it moving along. And like, I think that is a talent, like Jeremy's saying. So you do deserve credit for that, man.
Thank you. And it is something that I've worked on because I'm prone to tangents as well when I want to. When I host, it's always, I try to make it as much about the person I'm talking to more than about me. My opinion is like, it's there and I will put it out there, but it's always my co-host. I always want them to get their points across because they're the ones who are here to give me that analysis. I am here to be the person who would be in the chat trying to get those questions off, or at least like, you know, talk about what's going on. That's why I'm a serial chat reader and I'm a serial clock watcher. I've said this on a few other shows. Like I'm watching the chat, I'm sometimes commenting, or I'm bringing up and talking about it. And I'm also watching the clock because I want to make sure everything is running as it should. It's a well-oiled machine. And if it's not running, then it's, you know, it's all over the place. But then I get to work with you two, and, you know, just to toot your horn, I get to hear completely different takes on whatever we're talking about. And it makes each show different and it benefits as a result. It's not my opinion that matters. It is the collective conversation that's going on. And I think that's really what makes a great post show or a great podcast, great content. It's not just two people agreeing with each other. It's two people having a good conversation, sometimes in agreement, but also sometimes at odds. And that's good too. People love to argue and yell at each other, but like, and there's moments of that that's hilarious. Jeremy and I did that once about Aussie Open and the graphic discussion about whether, and the conversation was, you know, when Mark Davis was injured, Kyle Fletcher was featured on TV for AEW, and then Tony Khan said, "This is, you know, Aussie Open was signed," and I kind of said, I pushed back. I said, "Well, why are you doing it when you have one member of Aussie Open available to you, when you can make a bigger impact and have Mark Davis come back, make a big moment?" And then Tony says, "Aussie Open is all elite." And we had a back and forth about it. And I've somewhat changed my view, but I haven't fully changed it because I still think that in a lot of ways, and we don't need to get in the weeds with that. We do that Monday, Wednesday, Friday on Fightful Overbooked. Instead, we kind of we had our back and forth about it. And that was kind of really fun banter that ended with, we went off the air. I'll pull the curtain back. And Jeremy was like, "You okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's fine." Like I wasn't upset in the moment. I was like, I don't think anyone's seeing what I'm trying to say. But that was, that's good content. And I like that stuff.
No one saw what you were trying to say because you were wrong, Joel. That's why no one saw it. Let's go back to I don't know how old Joel Pearl, but how did Joel Pearl find wrestling, fall in love with wrestling?
My brother will probably tell me I'm wrong, but I feel like it was him. I feel like he was never a huge wrestling fan, but he was always kind of, it was there. It was something that he followed when he was a young kid. And I just remember WWF Superstars on TV coming home one Saturday, presumably from synagogue, because that's just what Saturday mornings were.
Oh, and happy Hanukkah, everyone, by the way.
Happy Hanukkah. We'll still be in the midst of it. I had latkes for part of my dinner tonight. So there you go. My mother makes great latkes. She brought them over. It was a whole, anyway.
That sounds great. I'm jealous. I haven't had any latkes myself this Hanukkah. I need some though. I want some badly. I've been letting them ignore though. Anyway, so
yeah, WWF Superstars was probably on TV and I probably watched it. But like, honestly, my fandom probably picked up when I was 12, 13. My friends at school were watching. I wanted to fit in. So I started watching, and I probably started watching WCW more than I watched the WWF at the time. And it's not because it wasn't available. I'm in Toronto, Canada. It's not like I couldn't watch Raw, and it's not like I couldn't watch Nitro. Both shows were on TV. So I watched both shows. And then I started watching ECW on Friday nights. We take again, going back to the Jew thing, we take my bubby, my grandmother, home every Friday night. She'd come over for Friday night dinner, and then we'd take her home, and I'd either go with them and bring her up to her apartment, or I would stay at home and I'd watch ECW on TNN because it would be at like 7 or 9 o'clock, whatever the time was. And I'd be watching that. I tried to consume as much wrestling as I could. And those were in my like very early teen years. And I always kept up. I fell off a little bit later on.
Yeah, that was back when it was still the Nashville network, TNN, for ECW. So I remember those days fondly. So who were some of your favorite wrestlers then, like when you first got into wrestling?
Oh man. This is always the fun part, is that I can't remember these things. Believe it or not, Conan jumped off the screen to me at first.
Okay.
And then you would watch.
Have you watched his podcast? Have you listened to his podcast?
The day he sent me that DM was probably the best day of my life. And it took way too long. I just got to say that. Who else was there? Alex Wright was always hilarious to me. It was the dance, Das Wunderkind.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, you had basically the entire NWO. Mostly at the time, it was the Red and Black. It was Wolfpack, right? So it was Hall and Nash, and then Sting at the time when he was painting his face red, and then Luger at one point was joining. It was a big mishmash of those guys. And then over in the WWF, it was always Stone Cold. And then I think at one point I gravitated towards Big Boss Man, and I don't know why. I think it was just how silly the character was, and he did roll. Ray Chandler was a great guy. So yeah, those were a lot of my guys. I'm sure the more I think about it, the more there will be others. But in ECW, it was Taz, it was Rob Van Dam, it was Amish Roadkill, who was someone that I loved, right? The Chicken Plucker, and then of course, Simon Diamond, Danny Doring, all those guys.
Pretty good list.
Sounds Roadkill would make ECW games. Absolutely incredible.
Man.
Incredible stuff.
It's a travesty those ECW games never got like a good game. Like the ECW never got like a good game. It was just like the whatever those were, the acclaimed version.
Yeah,
Warzone.
Warzone.
Yeah, that was rough. Great roster though. Roadkill was a guy who could really, for his size, he was like innovative for like, you kind of see that on the indies every now and then with some guys, but yeah. Damn, now I'm thinking about all my favorite wrestlers from back then. So now I'm getting nostalgic.
All right, Joel, how did you get into the world of, I guess, content creation with all this? Because I only know you from I don't even know how our kind of, if you want to call it a friendship, like sort of started. Like, I think we just saw each other on Twitter and like, all right, we kind of have intersecting stuff. But like, how did you start to get into the content creation side of wrestling?
So this is fun. Okay. 2019, it's SummerSlam weekend in Toronto. I am at a ton of shows. And in the afternoon, one of them is me walking into the venue, and I'm on the phone with my soon-to-be wife. It was also my bachelor party weekend. So I walk in, and it's just me because I think it was an afternoon. Was it WXW? It was some show. It may have been Ambition, which was a WXW no ropes type of show. And it's on the network, by the way, so you can watch that. And as I walk in, I see a dude with long hair and a gray t-shirt with an FF on it. And I'm like, oh, I'm pretty sure that's Sean Ross Sapp. And so I go and we go to we're in the lobby because I didn't want to be on the phone while a wrestling show is going on. It's kind of disrespectful. So I catch Sean's eye and I'm like, hey, I watch your stuff, and I just want to tell you, I like what you guys are doing at Fightful. And he's like, oh, thank you. Later that night, I ran into him, and he happened to be there with his wife, and the three of us were just chatting. We were over at the back of the room, just chatting, over by the bar, and it's intermission. This is funny. An unknown kid from Edmonton, Alberta, named Spencer Love.
The beautiful Spencer Love.
So he approaches Sean Ross Sapp, and they strike up a conversation, and they're having a great time. And then I walk over and I'm speaking to Sean's wife, and we're having a lovely conversation. And then Spencer says, hey, would you mind taking a photo for us? No problem. So I take a photo for Spenny, and this is one that he continuously posts, is him and Sean Ross Sapp. And I always remind Spenny who took that photo. And so that was the start of that. I saw Sean maybe a couple more times that weekend, and then I sent him a DM just being like, hey, it was lovely meeting you. Next time you're in town, dinner's on me or something. And we just kept up from there. You and I, Jeremy, is a really interesting story. I don't know what the following was in terms of like social media wise, but remember when everyone wanted Fightful to have a Twitch channel?
Yes.
And remember how Sean was so adamantly against it?
Yes.
So for those who don't know, Dr. Disrespect was the reason Sean was so adamantly against it, because the story of Dr. Disrespect was that he was leaving Twitch, going to YouTube gaming, and it was a whole thing about who was shutting him down, and he was shut down early on Twitch. It was a big commotion and everything. And Sean was worried that we were going to have the same treatment. And a lot of people had to tell Sean, we're not going to get that same treatment because we don't have millions of followers and millions of contracts going from one platform to another. Eventually, Sean figured that out, and we got a Twitch. But first we had to do gaming. Sean Ross Sapp goes on a stream on his own and starts playing retro video games, but he's doing it all by himself.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, can we do co-play? Can we do anything? He's like, I don't know how. I don't know what I'm doing. And then Jeremy and I started talking. We started with DMs. We started looking at different apps that we could use. And we settled on, what was it called? Started with a P.
Oh, I don't remember.
This was to play old games.
Oh, Parsec.
Parsec. That's right.
Oh, yeah.
We started talking to some people. We started working with Parsec. We were going back and forth how to get things working. Eventually we did. And then we were able to call our friends and start playing emulated video games, old school wrestling games over the internet with each other, miles and miles and miles away. And that kind of started our friendship. I can't remember if I did this, if I did the distraction before or after that.
I think it was before. You were on the Elias episode because you buried Elias for not playing his own solos. And when we reviewed that album, we had you on to discuss all of that. I feel like all of that was before this, and then we just continued to talk. And then we did gaming. I do remember the late night gaming during the pandemic, and being on YouTube and making sure it all worked. But yes, very late nights. Those were really fun. Very chilled, like just us, because it was legitimately like midnight, 1 o'clock. We had nothing else to do. I had just gotten a divorce. You didn't have a kid yet. Like I was just like, we're just up. I think I was stoned out of my mind, and we were just up and like, let's just play video games for a few hours here at 1 a.m. And that was very fun times playing those games at that time.
And then we started doing it on Twitch. We got Fightful Gaming, and the rest was history. It became the Impact streams, and we tried to load it up with as much content as we could. And then slowly but surely, we kind of moved back towards what we're doing now, which we'll get to. But the stuff with gaming was really my foot in the door, was because I had an idea of how to do it. And then you and I just kind of troubleshooted it until it made sense and it worked. And then we got to play until 4 or 5 in the morning and send each other weird Kenny Omega gifs on Twitter for no reason, just to make people wonder what the hell's wrong with us.
Yes. The very, very late nights. I do remember all the troubleshooting we had to do, and just spending like hours just trying to make sure like it was up and running and like working, and the masses could see us and everything. And then troubleshooting controllers was always the worst thing in the world. No matter what controller we were using, is like, is this working? Is that working? And finally we got it down to a little bit of a science and a regiment there. But that was a lot of trial and error during those early days of Twitch.
Those are classic days.
Man, you mentioning, just kind of side note, but like, speaking of, Dr. Disrespect, they still don't know why he was banned from Twitch to this day. Like, I mean, which is crazy. We're talking that long ago about like whether or not we should use that platform, and like we still don't know why that platform banned him, which is wild.
Well, nowadays on Twitch, you can shove ass and you're good. You can be naked on Twitch. They don't care.
Yeah,
it's wild. It used to be we'll ban you for anything, and now it's like we won't ban you for anything.
Yeah, well, with him, I don't want to get too in the weeds on that, but with him, there was rumors that he was negotiating his contract at the time with Mixer before Mixer went out of business. And when it went out of business, they were like, screw you, dude. You were trying to leverage, like, they've like found a reason to get rid of him. It's kind of like the big conspiracy theory. But regardless, I'm glad that we got to do that stuff on Twitch. I had a blast. Like, I play Mario Kart every now and then. Like, I played it like the other night for like a little while. Do you still play it all? Because like they still update the maps and stuff, which is pretty sweet.
I haven't played in a few weeks, but I had a chance to do it when I set up my TV and got stuff. And I got this, I talk about it on the shows sometime. I have this sweet black chair that was delivered to me by my in-laws. So I just like to sit in that chair and play video games and veg out. So yeah, that's the last time I played cards. It was a few weeks ago.
Are you gaming anything else right now?
No, every time I want to start doing something, I get sidetracked with other work. It's kind of the curse of being at this desk, where everything I want to do is here and everything I need to do is over here. So I easily get sidetracked. Plus YouTube, you go down a YouTube rabbit hole, it's game over. Suddenly it's like, 11 at night and you're like, I have to go to bed. We're done here.
Okay, well, that's another question I'd be interested to know. What kind of stuff are you binging on YouTube right now?
So Vice documentaries have started coming up more on my YouTube channel. But other than that, I was watching a lot of travel YouTubers for a little while. So watching Kara and Nate until I kind of got sick of their dynamic. I was watching Eamon and Beck, which is another couple of travelers, and all of their lives have changed since the pandemic and everything. So I started moving towards Drew Binsky is another guy who does a ton of travel vlogs, and then cooking, a lot of cooking. Mythical Kitchen, Guga, who else is there? I watch Mr. Beast, and I know that Jensen, that would make you very happy.
I'm very proud. I have a piece from one of his sets. Actually, it's one of my prized possessions. So
there you go. And Ryan Trahan is someone that I'll watch once in a while because
very big fan of his.
He's just a happy dork. He's just the best. So there's a lot of really random stuff that I try to watch. It depends on my mood, and then I'll watch other bassists playing along to different songs that I either like or have always wanted to learn, because that always pops up in my algorithm.
Do you have a favorite Ryan Trahan video? Because I've known about him for a while, but I just recently started like really digging into his catalog, and his videos are really good.
The Penny series that he's done a couple of them now. Those are really good. I do recommend those. And the latest stuff that he's been doing is a lot of like, I stayed at 1-star hotels because I want to debunk whether or not the reviews are accurate. And those are sometimes really funny. Or I invited a bunch of celebrities to my birthday. Did they show up or not? There's funny stuff because Ryan is totally unafraid of making a fool of himself. And that's something that, to be honest, I appreciate in Jeremy too, is that he will very happily make a fool of himself, where I don't always feel that comfortable. And I always envy people who are able to do that and just be like, yep, making an ass of myself is just part of the gig.
When have I ever done this?
Let's see if I can find it. Here we go.
There you go.
That was an unfortunate incident with the cake that got thrown at my face and not on the ground. Unfortunately, happy birthday to my face in that incident.
Dude, that reminds me, you owe me a Psychosis leg drop still.
Oh, I think I'm doing an elbow drop, and I do owe this. Now it's like super cold in Ohio, to where like I don't feel like doing this thing at all. I also feel like you should take a little bit of pity on me as a Panthers fan. Like, are you really proud of that victory?
Listen, and this is so off topic, and this is American football, which I'm sure Joel has no interest in. But
I sure shouldn't care about Canadian football. So,
so my gripe with the Panthers is what they're doing to the end of the career of Adam Thielen right now, because I'm still an Adam Thielen guy. So like, but it was it's his bed that he decided to lie in. Like he left the Vikings. He wanted the extra little bit of money and to be the top receiver on a team in the NFL, and that's what he got. But they've won one game all season, and now he's not getting the ball hardly at all because now they got to develop new receivers. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, it's unfortunate that your quarterback, he just probably isn't the guy, or isn't going to be for a while. So, anyways, yeah, but you do owe me something for that bet. So we'll figure that out later.
I'll pay up. I always pay up on these things. All right, Joel. So we do Twitch gaming. That goes the way that it kind of goes. We were consistent with it for a little while, and then I think the biggest thing that kind of changed was the kid. Like, the kid kind of changed your schedule, and then by my own matter, my kids changed my schedule as well, because we were doing the Friday night show with Share Delaware, which was some very fun times that we stopped doing because I got married and had kids, adopted kids, and you also had a kid, and like our schedules just completely changed. But that Friday night show, that late show that we used to do, at some point, that's one we definitely got to bring back. I don't know how, but
that was the messiest show ever. And I don't know if we can do that anymore. I mean, we can. Who am I kidding? But that was a time and space. That's for sure.
I've completely forgot about that. I was on that before. Like, we talked about whatever. Like, yeah, that was like Anything Goes show.
Yeah.
That was actually a lot of fun. I completely forgot about that. That was a lot of fun. I remember there was an episode, it was like the three of us, SP3 shared. There was like probably like 5-6 people in that thing.
Oh yeah, there was that. I think Sean was traveling, so he was on his phone, and we were this is back when we were doing everything on Skype, and we were
Yeah,
using
through OBS, right?
Yeah. We were in old school. And so we had to toss everyone like in a corner instead of in our boxes that we had set up on OBS. That recording exists. It's either on Scraps or it's on Overbooked, but it exists.
Yeah, it's somewhere. It might be on Overbooked somewhere. Those late shows that we would do, and yeah, very much free for all stuff. Like no real point. We would play like some just silly games of not so much like truth or dare, but almost like two truths and a lie kind of stuff on there. Like we would, yeah, it was very much just. It was like Friday. It was after the SmackDown review shows back when Sean and I actually worked on Fridays, and then I got a life, and Sean was like, yeah, you know what? I don't feel like doing this show either. So Sean decided to give it up, and he stopped doing the SmackDown review show. We both were like, yeah, Friday nights, get out of here with this nonsense.
Can I tell you, this is my favorite review show that I ever did was the SmackDown review, and it was May 2021. And it happened because I think one of y'all got your second COVID shot, and it knocked you on your ass. I think it was you, Jeremy. And so
yeah,
they
May 20, yeah,
this was May 2021, and that was the episode where Aleister Black came and he kicked Big E into his own release the next day. So I got to talk about the return of Aleister Black, and then the next day be like, well, any ideas we had are out the table because he has been released from WWE. No more Aleister Black. Bye bye. And that was my first time doing a post show on Fightful.
And now look at you doing the Impact post show every single week. All right, so we do the Twitch stuff. That kind of continues. And then the Impact show came on after that, right? Because we kind of talked about how once they got off of Twitch and we stopped doing Mario Kart, the Impact show kind of came to life. Am I missing something?
Yeah, that was around April of, was it April? It was a few months later. We didn't jump directly into it. We were off Twitch. But I'm saying the Impact post show, it started a few months later. I think it was around Slammiversary 2021.
Okay. So we were doing Overbooked by then because that was January, February. No, that was 2022. Oh my gosh, my time. Right? Yeah, that was all 2022.
Yeah, that was 2022.
Yeah, okay.
I can
Speaking
always
of that, y'all, I gotta see. I remember you made all those graphics whenever Overbooked started. I would like to see all the lineup of those original shows that were like that. Like so much has changed on there, but like that's reminding me because occasionally me and SP3 still jump on and do Degrassi dudes or talk about some nostalgics. So every couple months. But I remember there was like a whole list of like just random shows that were all coming out on that.
I was trying to get different personalities, different voices. The story with Overbooked is really strange. It was I'll tell you my side real quick. I was working with Tim, who some people remember from Tim and Joel Call It in the Ring.
Sure.
And Tim and I were working on expanding for the next year into the Tim and Joel Network or the Tim and Joel Universe, whatever you want to call it. I think we were going to call it the In the Ring Network. And we had a whole bunch of people planned out. They were going to do shows, different content, shorter content for us, and we were going to build a new platform. And then Jeremy came to me and was like, okay, so we have this new platform we're going to work on. And do you want to do this? And I told him about what we're doing within the Ring Network. And we brought everyone over and decided we just do Fightful Overbooked. And obviously things changed. I still have all of those graphics. But yeah, that was a moment in time because we were trying to do something different. And I wanted to bring more voices into that wrestling sphere. I tried to grab as many people who were unknown or just not as well known onto this platform, and it worked for a few, but other people branched out and did their own thing, which I think is wonderful. But also, this isn't always for everyone, and that's okay too.
I will not tell the story of Overbooked until many, many years later down the line. Maybe
that's fair.
Joel's side is Joel's side. Joel is correct in what he is saying, and what we tried to do initially didn't fully work because I don't know if we were fully understanding of what it was going to be, what it needed to be. Because I don't think it was really until this year. Like it legitimately took us a good year to actually nail down where everything needed to fall in place. And then I think now, Overbooked is very good, and I think that we can still make some improvements with various things. But like as far as what we actually do on it, there's a lot more value in what we do on it. Not to say there wasn't before, but not value is the wrong word. Cohesion in what we do, in what we offer, compared to when we were first doing it, where it's just like, let's just kind of have like content. Like, we legitimately did overbooked for the first one. It's like, oh yeah, we can try to put something there and put something there and do something here. And now it's like, maybe it's a kind of a less is more approach to things.
I had a calendar. Jeremy is aware of the calendar.
Yeah.
It had a recording schedule and it had an upload schedule. And we tried and it failed. And it took some time and it took some adjusting, but we figured it out eventually. It was definitely a lot at once. And yeah, we figured it out, but it took some time. By the way, the first Impact show was late May 2022.
Okay.
I just found my notes.
All right. There you go.
Well, I appreciate the appearances for Fightful Overbooked, because it's hilarious that like I have a platform of any kind at all to talk about like Degrassi or something that's that niche. Like, and what's so funny to that for me for that is like I was just looking at it the other day. I typed Fightful Overbooked Degrassi dudes like just into YouTube, and like one of the episodes for that had like 2,500 views, and I was like, what? Like, how did that happen? I was like, what? So like, I mean, obviously that it's not normal for like a Degrassi dude does not get that type of viewership normally. There was another one that's around 2,000, and that was when we had Queen of the Ring on, and these were for like certain lists that we had done, and I was like, damn, that's like I'm happy that, because like the Degrassi community isn't that huge for people that like put that kind of content out there, and I watch other people's YouTube videos that like talk about shows that I like all the time, and I was like, we must have hit the algorithm like for a couple of these where like all the Degrassi fans saw us for a couple times, and like that made me feel pretty good that like outside of wrestling I got to kind of be out there for something else. So
Jeremy knows that I pushed back really hard on non-wrestling content on Overbooked.
Yeah.
And that was more of an algorithmic thing. I was worried that if we strayed too far from wrestling, people wouldn't find us, or they would think that this is what we're doing exclusively, whether that was FMC, which is primarily basketball and reality TV and whatever other tomfoolery you guys do, or like Degrassi dudes, which again, or Nickelodeon specials, whatever, like the different stuff that's up there. And then I kind of started realizing it's like, well, why not have a few of these random shows pop up once in a while, because it's just a sampling of like our personality's personality. You know, their fandom outside of wrestling is well worth being talked about and then explored.
Dude, I get, sorry, just say real quick, Jeremy. I occasionally there are legitimately a few people that only message me on Twitter about Degrassi. They're like, hey, like, are you guys going to do another Degrassi dude soon? Or like, hey, what do you think about this episode? And I'm like, I don't think they have any idea that outside of like what I'm always tweeting about, I don't think they watch any of my wrestling opinions. I don't think they care about that at all, but like they like my Degrassi takes. And that's that's wild to me. So like, and that wouldn't be possible without a platform. And I think that speaks to what you're saying, Joel. Like to sprinkle that in there, I think is smart to just kind of reach just random people that wouldn't have found you otherwise.
Joel was right in pushing back on some of the stuff, and I see where he was coming from with that. And then the other stuff, like FMC, was really just like, I wanted a spot to talk basketball. I wanted to talk basketball with SB3, and then it turned into this nonsense show that we do, which is still basketball, but you know, Cher has a segment now. We're playing Love Is Blind mobile games, and like, yeah, it's a niche thing. But people really seem to enjoy it. And then when it came to like Degrassi dudes or SP3 doing like TV show rankings and stuff, one, they're so infrequent that it doesn't seem to really hurt too much. And two, it's like, I wanted to give my friends a platform to just not always talk about wrestling. Because like, that's all we kind of do for a lot of our time. So it's like, hey, yeah, if you guys want to just talk about Degrassi or Nickelodeon shows like once a month or something, like, cool. Like you, Jensen, SP3, you guys are my friends. Like, why wouldn't I allow this to happen when we have this show? Because Joel knows this. I'm not a big algorithm view person. I'm a big, like, are you having fun with the content you are doing, person? I'm not concerned if it's doing 50 views, if it's doing 500,000 views. Yeah, one is much nicer, but it's like, okay, are the people doing that having fun with what they're doing? Because if they are, then that's what I'm happy with. And I think that's what ultimately will start to show when it comes to like views and stuff, is like, all right, if people are, or maybe it's not even like the most viewed, but like the consistency of the audience and building like a regular audience and a regular following, and then hopefully you can continue to build from there. Like that's where more my head is at. And Joel has always been, all right, what's the algorithm gonna say here?
It's a mix of that, and then what you're saying is entirely true, and it's something that should be looked at for any creator, and that is your content making you happy? And is it making your fan base, your followers, is it making them happy? Are they enjoying it? Are they engaging with it? To me, the numbers are more of a growth thing, because I want everything you're saying, I want more people to experience and enjoy that. So that's where I come. It's not like I'm going to make a clickbaity title and, 500. Sometimes I do because I just want to have fun. But like, I want 500,000 people to watch it, but I also want those 500,000 people to engage with it, not in a negative, screaming, throwing stuff at the wall kind of way, but in a way similar to the chat rooms that we have during the shows we host, because those people, by and large, are really passionate, really smart, and really well engaged when it comes to the things that we're talking about. And they're also in on the jokes that we start. And that's good. I want that. I also want more people to be able to be a part of that joke. So that's where I come from. And that's why I like the idea. For me, growth is a natural thing. It's progression. It's, to me, that is the reason for having a YouTube channel that is monetized, is that you want to see growth. So that's why I think, Jeremy, you and I work really well together, is because we see things similarly but different enough that they complement each other, and it works for us.
And I also told you many, many years ago when we first started doing this, there ain't a lot of money in this game. So you may as well be happy with the stuff you're actually creating, because chances are you're not going to be getting a whole lot out of it. And, it's not a joke when we say, Fightful overbooked, all the money goes to the contributors. Like, legitimately, that is the case. We are very fortunate now to be in a position to where Joel has deserved to get money off of Overbooked since the start of it, and he is not until these past couple of months. And he more than deserves that. And like that, I think that does speak to the overall growth of Overbooked. We've put so much into it, and it is in a position where like all of our contributors are paid, and hey, we even have like some left over to where Joel is actually making money off of this product now, because nobody does more hours of content on that channel, even myself included. It might be close between us.
It depends
because you
if Kate wants to work that week.
Yeah, it depends on if Kate wants to work. Exactly. Because I have FNC consistently. So there is at least that. And, spotlight interviews go up there as well. So I could theoretically count that towards hours put on the channel. But yeah, nobody does more hours on the channel than Joel. So he should get something off of it. And I'm happy that, like, again, it ain't a lot. I always wish it was more, but that Joel is finally benefiting some from it, because I don't feel like I'm out of pocket or I'm saying anything that isn't known by saying this. In the Weeds has been a success for Overbooked, and it's helped us make the profits we've been able to make since we started this silly show earlier this year. And Joel is, again, deserved, from the work he did previously, deserved to get something from the channel. So do you want to talk about In the Weeds?
So my kid turns 1. It's the end of March, and we finally have daycare for him. I had been doing a lot of the daycare stuff, or not daycare, but just the primary care, because my wife was working. So we tried to split the day up, and I would be with the kid as much as I could so that she could work throughout the day. And then daycare came along, and we started getting comfortable with sending him, and then we'd come home, yada, yada. We'd have more free time. And so one afternoon or one morning, I say, oh shit, I'm up early. I should probably start doing a morning show. And then I get a message from Jeremy, and he's like, "You serious about doing a morning show?" I said, "Sure, why not?" And then we started talking about doing In the Weeds. We didn't know what to call it for the longest time, and then Vince McMahon decided to drop us a very nice nugget, probably the only good present he's ever given us. And we decided In the Weeds was the right idea in the right time. And one thing I never, ever, ever, ever thought I would want to do, and I held off for the longest time, was interviewing wrestlers. Never wanted to do it. Never had any interest in it. Always wanted to stay as far back from the curtain as I could while talking about what's going on in front of the curtain, which, by the way, I don't recommend it. Talk to wrestlers if you can. Do interviews if you feel comfortable with it, but try to be engaged in different ways. Anyway, one day I finally got the opportunity to start talking to wrestlers before In the Weeds started, and I took my time to get it right and figure it out, and I'm still learning and I'm still getting better at it. But with this In the Weeds came the idea from Jeremy that we would have wrestling or wrestling adjacent people on the show as often as we could. And I'm glad we get to do that. I think it's wonderful that we get to bring that up because it is such a wild ride talking to these people about their experiences and their matches and their stories and their opportunities. And I would never have had that opportunity if not for this show. And I would never have made the connections that I've made without doing this show. I wouldn't have to cough right now if not for this show. Please, 1 second.
When Joel sent out the tweet of, I should start doing a morning show or whatever, this had been an idea that I've always loved sports talk radio. And Jensen and I more or less do a morning show because we're on early, but it's obviously it's a weekly show. So we're recapping the week of, and we're also, we do hit a lot of AEW, WWE, we focus on that, but we also want to make sure one thing I'll tell you, Jensen, that at WrestleCade, when people came up to me, they're like, "Oh, I love that you guys talk about the indies and the stuff that doesn't get a lot of coverage." And that was something that was very important to me when we started the spotlights. Well, everybody's gonna talk about AEW, WWE. What else can we talk about that's not that?
National Wrestling Alliance.
Yeah. But the doing the morning show, a consistent morning show, came to me of just, I was driving a lot to North Carolina because of my dad's health issues. And I was listening to so much sports talk radio on those drives. And I'm like, nobody's doing this in wrestling. Busted Open's basically the only one that is just it's a week or it's a daily morning show. And I tried out that idea of, it was a random show because I hadn't done a lot of shows for the 1 week because I was doing so much driving back and forth. And I was like, oh, let me get just my friends on to talk about stuff. And I had Phil on, Kate popped on, Mike from Indeed was on, Will Washington made a run in, who, by the way, shout out to Will Washington, who carried Overbooked with Day After Dynamite during the early stages of everything. Carried it so much.
And shout out to us for giving Will Washington the platform that catapulted him to an AEW job. I don't want to hear otherwise.
Yes, carried us so much that Sean stole him, and then AEW stole him.
Circle of life.
Yes, I had all these people on, and there's somebody that I'm forgetting, and I hate that I'm forgetting who else was on this morning show besides the people I mentioned. And I was like, I feel like I can do this. I feel like I can do it once, at least twice a week, but I need somebody else because I don't want to be the only person talking. I need someone to play off of, and I don't want to have to set up 300 guests to make sure the show keeps moving. So when Joel sent that tweet, I was like, are you serious about this? If so, let's do this. It's our channel anyway, so it only makes sense that we would contribute more content to it. And look, I gotta say, I have fun with all my shows, and In the Weeds has been something I've had a lot of fun with, and something that has really helped me over this past year when I was doing a lot of content that I was not. It's not that I wasn't happy with because I thought it was good content. It's just, it wasn't as fulfilling as this show has become. I really enjoyed doing, and people still bring it up, Pillar to Post. I liked doing the series. Like this was like fun stuff for me to do, time consuming, but like fun to do. They've not been as fulfilling as in the weeds because we do have different guests on. You know, we do get to break down the big stories of the day, and then we do get to talk to wrestlers. We do get to talk to just different people that we maybe wouldn't interact with otherwise. And I appreciate you being willing to do it. I know it's not always the most fruitful when it comes to monetarily venture, but it's really helped me out a lot this year. And I always tell you, like, there's value to it. And as long as we're doing something valuable, I feel like that's a big thing in the wrestling space, where anybody with a camera and a microphone can just give their opinion on shit.
What's interesting to me is maybe people don't know, and maybe they do. We started in the weeds off of a show that we were doing, Jeremy and I, called Newsworthy. And it was a pre-recorded show on Overbooked that was basically 5 news stories from the week that Jeremy wrote. And we would kind of expand on them and, you know, just take it from different angles and take a news/wrestling media approach to the conversation. And that's why In the Weeds kind of started to work from the get-go. And it didn't have a lot of rust to tap off because Jeremy and I had already been working together in some capacity, talking about newsworthy stories. And now we just got to mix in the live element, the interview element, and then we got to talk about more the television aspect of things and where storylines are going. And yeah, the morning show format for us has definitely worked better. And we see the growth as we keep doing it. So no, I see it as a success, and I continue to tout it because I see other wrestling sites writing articles based on our conversations with other wrestlers, and that goes a long way. It's really cool to see when your name pops up on, you know, speaking to Fightful's In the Weeds with Joel Pearl and Jeremy Lambert. So and so said this. That stuff is cool to me still.
The ultimate rib on me was I wanted to do this show so I could do less work writing wise. And then we did so many wrestler interviews that it became way more writing for me. That part sucked.
Sounds like you owned yourself, pal.
Oh, I did. I 100% did. I want to put both of you over when it comes to like interviews, in that I never like doing one-on-one interviews. I do them. Like, you know, Sean sometimes can't do stuff. I'm called upon to do it. I think I'm okay at it, especially if it's something like a little bit shorter and stuff. I much prefer 2 people interviews of just like playing off of somebody and like taking a break so the other person can ask a question and then listening to the answer there and then following up off of that. Like, it's so much easier with 2 people interviews, and especially when you have a chemistry down pat, like I feel like I have with both of you on that kind of stuff. And Joel, I like doing the interviews with because I can get wrestlers to beat you up. And that is the highlight of my week sometimes, is when I get like Steve Macklin or Deonna Purrazzo or who else?
Steels.
Tasha Steels. Yes. Yeah. Anybody from Jersey. Yeah. They just all want to beat you up. And that's very fun for me.
I hate you so much.
All right, Jensen, let's wrap. Jensen, ask the big question, and then I have a surprise question for Joel Pearl at the end of this.
So we're going to ask the question we ask everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, so Joel, what's the coolest thing in your room?
Oh, I knew this would come up. Everything in my room means something, so I'll give you a quick tour here. Not a tour, but like stuff you'll see behind me. This painting on the wall that you can't see all of, that was painted by my sister for my dad's 50th birthday. My sister's a prolific artist. She's great. The masks were, people bought these for me at different times in my life to basically celebrate something. The hat with the sunglasses, that's from Party Hard Wrestling over in Arizona. They were fantastic to me when I went to the Royal Rumble in 2019. They were just the sweetest people behind the scenes at that show. I didn't know shit about anything, especially in independent wrestling, but they were so cool and they were just the best. They're starting up again, by the way. So I'm going to give a cheap plug. If you're in Phoenix or the surrounding area, Party Hard Wrestling's coming back. They are fantastic human beings. The shows are a blast. Go check them out. That will be with me forever, even though it's torn to shit. There's a Nitro Grill mug that I have here. I've shown it on screen before, but here it is. The original Nitro Grill and my first microphone that I ever owned. But really, the pièce de résistance Got to put that down. The bass in the background, the one that's in the far corner there, they call it the toilet bass. It's called a Music Man bongo. Just search Music Man bongo bass. You'll see what the design is. It's very space-like. I can't get up and get it because I'm like tethered into my board and everything. That bass was one that I ran. This one I got from a trade, but I originally got introduced to this bass when I was on my first ever cruise ship gig. Okay. And I brought a different bass altogether, but that bass got mangled. It had to get repairs. We were in Vancouver and I needed something else for a good week while they fixed it. They gave me the Music Man bongo in like burnt orange. It was ugly as sin, but it played like a dream. So I played it for a week and I asked what the price tag was and they were like $3,500 Canadian. And I said, not happening. Because at the time I was like not there yet. Musically, I was, long story, but I wasn't there. So gave up on the dream of owning the bongo. And then eventually, several years down the road, I became a professional musician. This is a whole other part of my life that we haven't even touched on and probably won't today. But yes, I've worked in nonprofits. I've worked as a professional touring musician, and I got the opportunity to trade for a Music Man bongo so many years later. That's my prized possession. That's what I call number one. That would go on tour with me everywhere. So that's the main thing in this room.
Very cool.
All right, Joel, a surprise question for you.
Oh, God.
Partner promo punch. Kate, Cresta Star, Jeremy Lambert.
Oh boy. I'm gonna punch Kate in the face.
Wow, I did not expect that.
You can't come to work every week, and plus,
I mean, fair. I just didn't expect that.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think of everyone that I've met Kate the most amount of times separately from my co-hosts. That is twice. Jeremy, you once. Jensen, you once. Cresta, I haven't met in person yet.
The three of us, by the way, for people who don't know, was all at the same time at Jeremy's wedding. So
I was gonna say, mine was my wedding.
Before.
I feel like that counts for more than just 2 off meetings because you were covering wrestling together.
I mean, the first time at Kate's was a whole other can of worms. It was hilarious. It was her sister's place. I got kicked out because the doorman didn't know I was coming. Whole thing. I got kicked out. It was not fun. I didn't actually get kicked out. She was just afraid I would get kicked out, so I left voluntarily. But we say I got kicked out. Anyway, punch Kate in the face, mostly for that. Cresta, I would promo with because I feel like it would throw her off her game, just like having a person who's not as absolutely ape shit as she can be, that she'll just like go off the rails and people will just get lost in the sauce. And then I can bring her right back and be like, and that's why I'm going to beat your ass on Saturday or whatever it is. And then the match or the partner is going to be Jeremy because I've seen you work, brother. And you could probably
that's a mistake, though. I'm leaving you high and dry. You that was a terrible answer.
No, I'll just go into the hot tag. That's all.
Terrible. I'd be out of there. I'm walking out on you second I get a chance.
I mean, I could partner with Cresta Star. She'd probably beat the shit out of someone with crazy eyes, and then
I would have partnered. I would have partnered with Cresta. I promote against Kate because you can beat her with. She'll just do a bunch of wacky voices that no one understands, and then punched me because I'm the meanest. I don't know. Everybody's kind of mean to you.
Yeah, everyone's mean to me. I don't know what it is.
But nobody gets wrestlers to beat you up, though.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. All right, Joel. Do you want to do the outro now?
Well, hey, before we do that, I'll plug one thing that I noticed on Twitter today because this will come out on Thursday, but. Congratulations on 1,000 days as Fightful champion. I'll go ahead and throw that out there. And how does someone? Oh, hold on, Jeremy, I'm not done. And how does someone challenge for the title? I need to know that as well.
Anyway, is
that ever going to happen?
1,000 days is amazing.
I didn't bring this up for a reason, Jensen.
No, hey, listen. It just happened to be perfect timing, right? I'm looking at a picture of Joel smiling, super happy into his camera with that title belt over his shoulder in this tweet. So yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Joel. Go ahead. We'll give you a chance to gloat about being a 1,000-day Fightful champion.
Nothing to gloat about. Just a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication. And I've earned my spot. 1,000 days. Thank you. If you want a match, talk to Jimmy Van.
Where's the title?
Talk to Jimmy Van. I already told you that answer.
Fake champion with no title.
It's not fake. It's predetermined. There is a difference, Jeremy.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, a lot of people really upset if you call it fake.
Oh, that's right. Leave a comment about how fake my championship reign is, so I can then rage on you in the comments right back. I probably won't. Who am I kidding? I'm not going to read them. But you can rage anyway. Engagement, right? Any engagement is good engagement. And thank you for engaging with us. This has been the Creator Spotlight. I have been Joel Pearl. That's Jeremy Lambert. That's Stephen Jensen. You can follow Jeremy Lambert. Don't. You can follow Stephen Jensen at Fight Talk, FIGHTTALK _ on all of forms of social media you would like to find him on. And you can find me at Joel Pearl, JOELPERL, on all forms of social media, and also in the weeds every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday over on Fightful Overbooked, 10 a.m. till noon Eastern. Go over to FightfulOverbooked.com. Subscribe today. Okay? Thank you.
We are back here on the Spotlight. Thanks, I guess, to Joel Pearl for being in the Creator Spotlight. Now, it's good if you see Joel a lot on this channel or on Fightful Overbooked. If you didn't know the origin story of Joel Pearl, now you do. Hopefully you learned something. Or don't. Maybe Joel just became even more unlikable, and that's fine too. But hey, watch him every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday alongside me on... What show do we do? In the Weeds. Watch him every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 10 a.m. Eastern to noon Eastern on In the Weeds. Me too, Ryan. I legitimately set that up so he could say he wanted to punch me in the face. I knew I was going to do that bit with him, and I figured the answer was going to be he was going to punch me, and he didn't. That was the most shocking thing of that entire interview, was he decided he was not going to punch me. All right, guys, don't give Joel, stop it, pile driver finisher, stop it. I feel like he's the only champion. I don't even know how he won the title. I don't know anything about this title. It's very, I don't get it. I would like my title shot. That's for sure. Guys, we'll be back next week talking all the news in the world, all the world of news in professional wrestling. And we'll be back tomorrow on Fightful Overbooked. In the Weeds, 10 a.m. Eastern, myself and Joel. Next week, myself and Stephen Jensen right here, youtube.com/Fightful with the Spotlight. Head over to Fightful Select, sign up, get all the news. Head over to Fightful.com, get all the news for free. And yes, we'll talk to everyone next week. Everyone have a good weekend. Everyone get your holiday shopping done. If you have not done that, go out, be safe during the holidays. Just be safe, take care of each other. I appreciate everyone. Thank you all for the support during the holiday season and year round, really. Our Fightful holiday stream is this Saturday or Sunday. Jeez. Fightful holiday stream is this Sunday. Everyone can watch that, support. Appreciate all the support everyone gives us here year round on Fightful. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the wrestling on Friday night. I'm sure there's independent shows and whatnot on Saturday night, and Collision on Saturday as well. And then Sunday as well. Come hang out with us right here, youtube.com/Fightful, 8 p.m. Eastern, our holiday stream. It's always a good time. I got to come up with a bit of where I do not speak. I've not spoken a single word on the holiday stream for 2 years now. So we'll see if I can keep that going. Bye, everyone.